What happened?
We drank, we fought, he made his ancestors proud.
Oh, I mean, yeah, just a couple Boilermakers, not too much. Anyway, hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of the Cheap Seat Critics Podcast, Season 26, Episode 4, or should I say Episode Thor?
But we're totally not delirious at all.
With me today we have...
Hello, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Geeky Writer.
I am Thor.
I don't think that's true.
I think you're Hawkeye.
Oh, I'm
actually.
Crimson Maroon.
There we go. And I'm Sprinks. And hey, if you're listening from, I don't know, Jotunheim, you can find us over on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky. Which one did I forget? I may have forgotten one. But hey, we got a letterbox as well where we have our average outs. Graphs and everything we've covered, as well as the visual side of things over on YouTube and Rumble, and plenty of audio platforms out there as well. But today we are covering the MCU movie Thor.
Next in
let
line.
us start. Next in line, just going down. Iron Man 2 was last week. Let's start with histories. Let us start with Crimson.
So, Thor is a movie I've seen probably 5-6-ish times. Not too many, not too little. I've kind of like with our Iron Man coverage, I've played Thor in some games. The Square Enix Avengers game, the Lego Marvel superhero games. That might be it. That's probably one I'm missing. But outside of that, I don't really have much of a history with Thor, so that'll be it.
Have you played him in the hit game Marvel Rivals?
Oh yeah, the hit game Marvel Rivals that I think I played as him once, maybe even twice.
You complain that he tickles people.
Yes, at least when I play him.
Bravo! Well, with that, let's go to Ryder.
All right. History with Thor as a mythology. Extremely familiar. I took a mythology class at uni. I also read books like Dr. Erik Selvig in this. Grew up on stories of Thor, Odin, the Bifrost, and all of it. So very much in Edric. I'm in Erik Selvig's, Dr. Erik Selvig's shoes for this film. As with the character, don't think I ever played him in any video game, but I played alongside Crimson while he was Thor at certain points, I'm sure. And I have seen this movie specifically probably in the range of the somewhere between 10 and 20. I wouldn't really know. I've seen a lot of the Phase 1 MCU films quite a bit. And yeah, it's my history.
Splendid. Let me see. I've seen this movie probably 6 times, maybe. Did I see it in theaters? Maybe. I can't recall. I've played a handful of Thor video games. I've maxed out Thor in the Marvel Avengers game by Square Enix. I remember back during one time a visit to a library, I rented out the Wii game off of this movie for Thor. I never beat it. I played a little, and I think I didn't like it. I've played Marvel Rivals, I've played Lego, I've played other things with Thor. Thor comics, I don't think I have any sole Thor comic, but I have Thor in other things. Like I have some Avengers, I have Thor teams up with Deadpool. I think I have a couple things like that. I think my first interaction to Thor was probably the animated film Earth's Mightiest Heroes. If not that, it may have been Hulk versus Thor. I can't recall.
I own that. I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay. And and then Norse mythology. Growing up with some Norse blood in me, it was usually brought up a lot during Christmas with some Norse conversations and stories. And bit of that, and then I know a little bit of the history and storytelling in the later God of War games with God of War 2018 maybe, and then Ragnarok, and the connection of that. I think that's it. Maybe. Again, I might surprise myself going through my comic collection and find more Thor stuff. Anywho, I will then go into facts. These are taken off the internet, taken with a grain of salt of how true or false they may be. Don't know. So this movie was originally released on May 2nd, 2011. I also saw that it was released on May 6th, 2011. So I don't know if the 6th was like a public out there and the 2nd was the previous or the like red carpet premiere. I don't know. Those are just the 2 dates I found. The runtime is 1 hour and 54 minutes. It had a budget of 150 million USD, where its box office domestically was 181 million, but worldwide was 449 million. So it definitely made its money back. Its rating is PG-13. Its genre is action fantasy, and it was directed by Kenneth Branagh. I think that's how you pronounce his last name.
Yes.
He's directed such works. Oh, perfect. He's directed such works such as Cinderella, the 2015 live action, the 2020 Artemis Fowl movie, and the ongoing trilogy, maybe, of Murder on the Express, Death on the Nile, and
Haunting of Venice.
Haunting of Venice. He's directed all of those and starred in them. He's also an actor as well. I think the first thing I ever saw him was probably Harry Potter 2, where he plays Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yes, he is also infamous for making live action versions of Shakespearean plays. So he did Hamlet, he did Much Ado About Nothing, and quite a few Shakespeare plays that he adapted into films.
Oh, lovely. That's a little foreshadowing to my last fun fact I have written down, which I'm curious if it changes anything for you guys. But we'll start with my first one, fun facts. Dr. Selvig, by Stellan Skarsgård, mentions a comrade who he got mixed up with S.H.I.E.L.D. In the film, as described as a pioneer in gamma radiation. This is alluding to, as what I've found in the fact, to Bruce Banner and not Mr. Blue, for the connection to the Incredible Hulk movie of 2008. There was also a deleted scene where he mentions Dr. Hank Pym.
Cool.
Yeah, I wrote down Banner reference in my notes. So.
Next fact is Stan Lee, who is the executive producer on this film, said has brought up that he's always wanted to play Odin, but was happy with Sir Anthony Hopkins' casting and performance in the role.
Pretty perfect role, if you ask me.
I think this tone of movie would have been very different if Stan Lee was Odin.
Yeah, I don't
know if I could take it seriously.
I don't know if he could do the delivery that Anthony Hopkins does.
No,
I agree.
I mean, I don't really see him do any serious roles.
Well, the only serious
Maybe
role, funny
that
enough,
one came in Spider-Man.
The main serious roles that I remember him being in, or is funny enough, nothing with the MCU, but it happens to do with the Kevin Smith movie. Like he drops into
Mallrats.
he drops in to give a serious explanation about life using his comic books, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, before he had white hair. Next fact, the entire town was constructed in Galastio, hopefully I pronounced that, New Mexico, to serve as a fictional location for the movie.
Good, considering that gives him free leeway to blow everything up.
True. According to director Kenneth Branagh, the closing credits sequence was based on images from a Hubble Space Telescope and took 18 months to create.
That's fucking awesome. I'll just accept that.
Dedication. Dude, that's almost as cool as the Incredible Hulk blood drop for a year.
Yeah. This almost took twice as much time. This fact is possibly for the next movie, but I think we can put it in here because this came first. The Norwegian village, Tonsberg, hopefully I pronounced that also correctly, seen in the flashback in the movie, is the same town as Red Skull invades at the beginning to get the Tesseract in First Avenger.
Okay, I was going to ask about that because it looked like it. So that's cool.
And then the last fact I have here is Kenneth Branagh conceptualized this movie as a Norse and comic book twist on William Shakespeare's Henry V, which was about a young king who underwent trials and tribulations, fighting a war, courting a girl from another land, trying to live up to example to his father, and basic character development.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably to the film's benefit, despite it being very archetypal in nature.
Rory.
So those are all the facts I have. Yes. Just didn't know if that would make anything like different of like originality or change or any of that such. So anywho,
No, I usually just take what I see on screen as my input, not typically outside
Yeah,
influences.
I subscribe to Death of the Author. It's cool that that's what he intended to do. It's cool to know that. I can see the influence, but I'm going to judge this based on its own merits.
writer, I agree. Because I also see something else that I know about this movie that there is a reason behind, but I will base it for the movie itself and not for the intent. Well, I see the intention, but which is a big overarching part for me. Anyhow, we'll go into the coverage now. How we'll go is linear popcorn, kind of from the beginning to the end. If we jump a little ahead, we jump a little ahead. If we jump a little back, we jump a little back. But kind of just keeping it in time and rhythm of kind of the left to right situation. It kind of also saves us from missing notes or whatnot. Anywho, let us start with me, because I just hinted that I have an overarching thing, and I'm just gonna get it out of the way. This movie likes doing Dutch angles. I don't know if like is the actual
Like,
right word.
love is the word.
Love. Obsessed? Look, I can appreciate a Dutch
Is it
angle here and there.
obsessed
be pretty
in
good.
the sense that J.J. Abrams is with lens flares, or
I think it's more
Maybe.
egregious.
I think this is more egregious. I think the movie's 85% Dutch angles.
That's a bit high, but there's a lot. There's a lot of.
It's not needed. The reason I found is because a lot of older comic book panels had these kind of side tilted angles to fit frames on pages, so they were able to capture scenes, but they couldn't be straight on, so they'd have to be crooked for dynamic effects in comic books. And that was the approach to kind of make the movie look more like that. I understand. I don't think it worked.
Okay, yeah. Now that Kenneth Branagh, knowing his history, that's definitely something he would try to emulate. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't notice.
That's
But-
wild.
To notice the Dutch angles or the intent of it looking like a comic.
The whole movie looked like the tripod was missing a leg.
No, I didn't notice the Dutch angles. I mean, I know that I never took an issue with it. I just took it as is. I don't have an issue with the cinematography, I guess. Guess that's why I don't have that on my system, though. I wasn't annoyed with it at all. I just took it as the director's style for.
Back
No,
when
I
we
have an issue.
pitched this season in MCU, I went in going, I know there's something coming up. I know there's something in here that I don't like or whatever. And I think one of you thought I was talking about Incredible Hulk, and I went, maybe. No, it's the overuse of Dutch angles. It's crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't really bother me that much because he uses it in a non-conventional way. Usually, Dutch angles is to convey an unease or an eerie situation or stuff along those lines. So it's kind of refreshing to actually see it used in a manner that isn't your standard use of it, because that kind of pigeonholes the type of shot. So I kind of welcome it here, and I don't think it's egregious in the terms of that it's used a lot, but I don't think it's enough to deter visually for me.
Okay, being that I have the bit of a cinematographer eye, it really stands out. It's an eyesore.
I mean, I took film classes too.
Yes, no, I don't mean to discredit. No, that's not what I mean. I just mean like, I know if anything's like graphic design wise, I'd feel you, Crimson, would have more of an approach on it than I would. Not saying I wouldn't have one, but that it's more of your realm. Or a piece of writing, I feel like would be more writer's repertoire and experience kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about the film, I Yeah, I'm kind of thinking it over in my head. I don't think I have any overarching major issues with it. I just took it as is, I guess. So I guess I'm closer to Crimson on the subject of the oversaturation of Dutch angles. It is used, I guess, a lot now that I'm thinking about it, but I don't think any of it was terrible in my head.
Well, they did it evenly. It's not like, oh, the first 20 minutes is heavy, then there's 10 minutes of dead space, and then there's 10 minutes of it again. It's pretty steadily used.
Yes, it is balanced. There's just these weird parts too where it's a straight frame and it tilts into a Dutch angle for a dynamic effect.
Mhm.
And then it stays that way for the entirety of the scene.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to classify it as experimental, but it's kind of approaching that type of thing.
Ooh.
Like I said, it's non-conventional.
Yeah, I see. Ooh, interesting word choice. But yes, this is an example of a movie where someone goes, what's a movie with Dutch angles? A Thor comes straight to mind.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
It will for me now, I suppose.
Well, now when you watch it, because you said you've seen it like 20 times, now you can see it a whole new way when you watch it.
Yeah, I don't know how you would ever be able to go back once you know.
Once you see it, it's there.
It's true. It's true.
Well, with that, let's go to writer for the next point.
Sure. They changed the mythology of how Odin lost his eye. Didn't like that. Again, this is within the adaptation. This is a personal one for me. Odin gives up his eye to gain his wisdom, all-seeing wisdom and stuff. In this, he loses it in the war with the frost giants. So I take some issue with that. Though if I'm putting this in Thor's continuity in like the trilogy of movies, arguably this war is what broke the camel's back, because there's an implication in the Ragnarok film that Odin used to be a warmongering king, and then this was the war that broke the camel's back, maybe. But that's me desperately reaching to try and explain something that's in this film with the third movie. So I'm gonna label it as I'm more annoyed that it wasn't, I guess, the mythology take on Odin losing an eye.
I guess I have
I can get behind
question with it. Do we see how he loses the eye, or we just see that he has it missing?
No, he directly loses the eye during the war with the frost giants.
We don't see the act of it happening, but we do see the aftermath of the eye missing on Jotunheim, overlooking Lofi.
No.
So that's the point I was.
No, we do see it missing. We see Lofi like throw ice into his eye.
Oh.
Yeah, you see it on screen how he loses it.
I didn't see it. Well, I mean, regardless, to me, it doesn't matter, because in this universe, that's how it happens.
Oh yeah, no, like I said, it's a subjective thing.
Like
I said, I'm preferencing this as being a subjective thing. It sucks to me that he lost his eye in, I guess, what I perceive to be a lesser way compared to the mythology counterpart. I guess if we're going in a line.
Sorry, apologies. I'm just pulling up to see where the eye miss is.
I guess while Sprinks is doing that, what would be next one, I think? Jane and the crew going through the storm, looking for the anomaly. I guess they didn't know it was a Rosenberg bridge yet.
Einstein-Rosen bridge.
What did I say?
Rosenberg.
Oh, that's a different thing.
That was pretty funny, but
anyways, yeah, they were doing that, and I think this kind of the Dutch angles and there's a lot of handheld shaky cam and artificial handheld shaky cam in this. In this particular scene, they're definitely appropriate to build how frantic the situation is at hand, and you kind of get a good grasp of the characters here. Not too much, just a little bit, but you get like Erik sees he's cautious but scientifically minded, passionate, Jane wanting discovery no matter the cost. And then I guess there's this Darcy who's just loud. I don't.
Darcy's a
don't-
comedic
I
character.
want to live.
Yeah. Darcy's
It's not
a
worth the
comedic.
extra credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Darcy's not very fleshed out in this movie.
Yeah.
She's kind of one note.
I don't think she's fleshed out in the second movie either, but Darcy's just a solid comedic relief as Jane's partner, I think.
I don't think she ever really gets fleshed out. I mean, even in WandaVision, she's kind of just
I
same
forgot she was in
character.
that.
She gets a little more in WandaVision.
Yes.
I did just pull up the scene in the background. Loki throws a ball of ice at the head of a guard or another warrior. The capes are different between Odin and this warrior.
Really?
Yes.
I always took it as Odin.
Odin is wearing a red cape, and the warriors are all wearing yellow.
Might just be the way the next shot was framed, because the way Odin spins back around to blast his spear kind of implied that he was the one that took the hit.
Yes, it does kind of look that way. That upon the fight of the big bad Loki attacking a guard, immediately cutting to Odin. Back.
Okay, that might be an editing issue, one of the rare ones for me.
But hey, solves potentially
Yeah.
your issue. He could have sacrificed his eye for wisdom to win the fight.
Could I don't know. That would be hard to write in, but could be. But I do go with Crimson's approach that this Earth, what was it, 199,999, whatever, is their Norse mythology tale.
Yeah, the Universe 616. Yeah, that sounds about right.
No, I'm a big no on that.
Like I said, I agree. This is their version of Norse mythology. I'm just annoyed that they did that instead. So I'm still taking it as he was lost during the war, because he has both eyes at the start of the war.
During wartime, yeah. Just don't know if it's from a battle or something else.
Yeah, there's not enough for me to infer that, so you're not moving me on my subjective here.
I'll bring up, why is it that when a polarity in the storm is coming at the beginning and they're riding towards it to go get readings of it and Darcy's driving, at what point, what is the decision why Darcy stops to decide I don't want to die after driving towards it?
She doesn't want to go inside
Is
of
it just
because Jane wants to go actually inside of it. Darcy kind of skirts around it, not driving into it.
okay? Yeah. Let's go to Crimson.
Sure. Let's go to the Tonsberg, Norway, or whatever how to pronounce. I don't know. The flashback, whatever, describing how primitive man would construe their efforts as godly beings. It's kind of a cool way to implement it. They kind of repeat that line later with Darcy. Yeah, Darcy says it later, where early men could construe it as gods. But I don't know. It's very like exposition heavy here with the narration stuff. But they do have a lot to
They have a
uncover
lot
for this.
to, yeah.
They have an entire war and two species to kind of flesh out, at least establish for this story to go off of. I think they did a decent enough job with it. You definitely understand the circumstances and everything.
Yes. I think it does lay some groundwork for issues later on, but that's not
Yes.
That's not this scene's
That's
problem.
different movie issues.
No,
Is it-
I would consider problems within this movie that are built off of this, but that's
Okay.
like I
Be
said,
interested.
it's more world building. It's more world building related stuff than it is anything else.
Does this portray that the casket can control the Bifrost?
I don't understand what the casket is, really.
Yeah,
It's
nor
a-
do I.
It's a Mr. Freeze gun.
They said it's their power source, yet they can still make ice stuff. And
Well, it's not destroyed.
no, but the whole point of taking is that they can't use its power, yet they still can do stuff. So I don't really know what it does.
Well, that's why I align with if it can do the Bifrost, because they used it to get to Midgard, which is the war to start with, and if the casket was then taken, that means they're stuck on Jotunheim and can't escape, which is why Loki gets them around. That's kind of where I was leaning with it.
I can sort of buy that as a visual, though. If that's the source of what it does, it just makes my world building problem worse.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
just
know why Loki would tell Odin it's time for war if they're stuck on their planet. He can only send a couple soldiers at a time through Loki's.
Pretty
they're
dumb.
ice giants.
That's
Yeah.
very moronic.
Yeah, I don't think Laffy is the brightest tool in the shed.
No, I agree.
There are
Not at all.
traitors in the
Blue-
House of Odin. Like, how the fuck do you even
Yeah,
know
I
that?
know. You're
Yeah.
letting them know there's a mole.
Yeah, how does he even know that the mole is in the
Smart.
House of Odin? Like, he doesn't even know it's Loki. His options are Freya, Loki, and Thor, and he's just like, there are traitors in the House of Odin, and none of them would be viable, like, easy targets for him to pick upon at that point in the story.
Because it's someone.
This goes to my medieval knowledge. When you say house, is it strictly the family, or is it like the kingdom that it's the family's control over?
Okay. Yeah, house refers strictly to the family and its lineage.
Bloodline.
Yeah. So if you were to
Okay.
say House Stark, because Game of Thrones is usually the prime example of this, anyone that's a part of that bloodline would be referred to as part of House Stark, but they don't refer to their kingdom as the Kingdom of Stark. They just refer to it as the Kingdom of the North or just the North.
Or Winterfell, or the name of it.
Okay. Then there's no way of misconstruing what Laffy was saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
there are traitors in the House of Odin. Nope, that's directly pointed at 4 people.
Yeah.
I wonder
Yeah,
who it
okay,
is.
that's pretty
I don't know. Well, what do all the history books say? God of mischief. God of mischief. God of...
Couldn't tell you.
It's Thor.
Yeah, clearly.
Wow, Laffy,
Yeah.
freaking idiot.
I just thought the casket was Jotunheim's since of Heimdall.
Yeah, I guess since we're on
can
this,
buy it.
I guess since we're on this topic of that, because my world building issues related to that. How long ago was this war? In like compared to when the story
700
starts.
something, right? 780.
Okay.
It was 965 AD.
Okay. So
Yeah,
roughly
to
roughly
2007. 2000. No, this is they keep the MCU in time to release until time stuff happened. So this should be like 2011, 2012.
Yeah, so there's roughly over 1,000 years. I don't understand why the Frost Giant civilization looks like a ruin.
That you just jumped on one of my things I don't like, and that's the portrayal of the frost giants. Do they live underground? Do they live in these spires?
Where's the
Why does it look
marketplace? Like,
inhabited?
where's the culture?
uninhabited? What is anything?
It's
it's not
I get
trade
it.
to be a civilization.
It's not
They're just monsters.
best I can go with this is the MCU's approach, and it's not great. But Jotunheim should be its own civilization, much like any of the other realms of Alfheim, Niflheim, even Hell. God, we see Hell later in Thor Ragnarok. But
Yeah.
I don't understand why it's crumbling. Like upon arrival, it's falling apart. It should just be still, and I think that would be scarier.
The patchwork on this is that their attempt at a patchwork, let me clarify, is Loki saying that, well, I can return the casket to you, and you can restore Jotunheim to all its former glory. And I'm like, I don't get that these people are a culture that thrive at all.
No, I found that line of Loki just saying, unknowing what glory is. Like, it's not Asgardian glory.
Yeah.
It's just like, whatever you're gonna do with it, have fun, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like
Not
return
actually thinking
Jotunheim to
the
its
casket's gonna
glory.
turn into like a kingdom or anything.
Yeah, I have. That's probably my biggest world building issue here. Is the Frost Giants did nothing since Asgard turned their homeworld into a ruin. I've got nothing to go
They
on.
just mope around.
So, not good. They did not fully realize them as a faction, I guess, a civilization.
A race.
of
Yeah.
people.
And they just have these giant monsters frozen in the walls, I guess.
Yes, I should have looked up what those are. Each realm has its own mythos of creatures and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just they don't. Yeah,
Is
I'm
Ryder
sorry,
is Ryder
reiterate.
the not Hela's dog, but isn't there another giant Norse wolf that runs or in Jotunheim? Or am I mistaken on that? There's more than one wolf, I think.
Let's see.
Unless
Not
that
that
is
I
the one
recall.
of
Yeah,
Hela's.
okay, there's Skull and Hadi, who are the sons of Fenrir, which is Hela's wolf. And they're usually living in Jotunheim, but I don't think these are wolves.
Okay,
No.
no. The monster in this movie is not a wolf, but I thought there were wolves in Jotunheim, or like big ones, which aren't in this movie. But
Yeah, just
cool.
looking it up,
Just check.
it's just called the Frost Beast or Jotun Beast. That's all they're referred to as.
Cool.
Okay.
Jotun Beast was able to corner. Okay, no, that's yeah. They just refer to the Yoda Beast, and all I'm seeing is Marvel Wiki stuff. So I don't think there's anything from mythology from that.
Okay. What did we agree is one notch above nitpick?
Like one thing worse than a nitpick, or
Yeah, it's not an issue, but it's a little more than a nitpick. Because I have
we did
something
have
that
one.
lies there.
maybe a plot hole.
The plot
No,
hole.
it's
Ryder,
anyway, that's fine. We get what you're saying.
Yeah, that thing. Ryder, what you brought up about Odin losing his eye, I have that about any Asgardian calling Earth Earth and not Midgard.
That's a fair point. I didn't see that.
They
I
continually
agree.
call it Earth.
I'm fine with Thor calling it Earth once he spend a lot of time there.
It's okay.
But everyone
Yes.
else needs to call it Midgard first until they spend
Heimdall
time
and
there.
Volstagg and Sif should not be calling it Earth.
Yeah. Same with Loki. Same with
I feel like Loki. It's a mortal peasant word for him to call it Earth. I feel.
yeah.
Yeah, and for me, an issue I guess for me, if we're talking about that stuff, is Thor calling a horse, but not knowing what other animals are. Because to me, to make it make sense, that means we get horses from Asgard, and that's an Asgardian animal. That's my takeaway. Because them having the same name for the same creature is as much, considering Thor seems to not know much about Earth at all.
True. That can fall under the sake that the word derives from Norse or Viking time, and the evolution of that, what have you. I know Odin's, was it 6-legged or 8-legged horse, is one of a kind, and not all Asgardian horses look like that. Loki rides on a horse to get to the Bifrost at the end of the movie, but so they know about horses, but horses don't derive from Midgard or Asgard solely, and there's no story in this movie to explain their origin. So I can see that as a nitpick for both because it's unexplained.
Yeah, it's not more than a nitpick, but it is something.
Let's go to Raider.
Alrighty. Where's not can I? I quite like the quick establishment of Loki and Thor. Like they're hearing Odin tell them stories when they're being shown like the casket of the Bifrost in the vault. And we kind of get a bit of what their character dynamic will be once they're adults here. So they do a good job of just conveying I guess what will be the standing relationship in the future. You get what you need to know about them as children before that's expanded on as adults.
Yes. Also, I think the casting for young Thor and Loki pretty well met.
Yep, definitely agree.
Yeah, the early story is good to build on the character. Be nice if Whiplash got something like this.
Oh, why did you bring that up?
I don't know, just something still from last week. Got me.
Yeah, we're not delirious at all, audience. Hint, hint.
No.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It's very, very quick on establishing who the characters are, and kind of setting up how Thor and Loki are going to be on opposite ends without necessarily explicitly making that obvious.
Yes.
A wise king never seeks out war.
Yes. I'll jump to something that might just be a me thing. I can totally see the two of you being like, "Oh, no worries, no, totally fine." I think the theme of this movie, Thor's theme, is fine. I don't think it's phenomenal. I don't think it's
All right.
hard.
When you say theme, do you mean the song or the character arc?
The song, sorry,
Okay.
the song of the score, the OST theme for Thor.
Okay.
I think it's fine. The reveal of Asgard, of coming up under the clouds through the water to show the city, I think it's poorly edited to not sync up with the beat of the music. If this is the reveal of the great Asgard, like showing Mount Olympus in example, I think it's slightly poorly done.
Well, you got me pegged because I think that was fine. I even complimented the music at one spot. When Thor is about to pick up the hammer, you get the like champion victory music, and it transitions to like a sad
Yeah,
melody.
no, that's good. That's good because that syncs up to what's shown on screen in the beat of the editing with the music. I agree. I do like that. This, however, with the display of Asgard with the theme, doesn't line up to the end of beats to reveals, and it's just unsynced. So I don't think it's very well done.
I agree it's unsynced. I do still think they convey the majesty of Asgard. Because, I mean, with the reveal of it coming from under the clouds, and I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, right? When they're panning from underneath the
The
clouds.
visual's majestic. Yes, the visual and everything is fine. I'm just saying the song used for the edit of how the shot is done to display the introduction of Asgard as the god's domain isn't, I think, as mythical or as whimsical or as enchanting or whatever word you want to put to it as it could have been with the syncing of the editing with the music.
Yeah, I don't remember, so I'm gonna have to just. There's always something about that scene that felt off, so maybe that's where I'm pulling
Like
that
the crescendo,
from. Yeah, the
yeah,
crescendo
the
is off.
crescendo of the music builds, but you haven't seen the castle yet. Like you're still on a hill.
Yeah,
And then it goes over the hill and you already have like halfway through the next chunk of song. So it just feels weird.
yeah, it always felt
I
a
don't know.
little bit
I don't
off.
fully like it.
Yeah, like I said, that scene's old. Now that you've pointed it out, I do recall always thinking that scene, that particular visual was always a little bit off. That might be why, but I'm not sure. I'd have to properly listen to it again to like agree with you on that. I wouldn't be surprised though, because I've always felt something was off about that scene. I just wasn't sure what.
Yeah. And that's one of the rare scenes that's not a Dutch angle. Crazy. Crimson, we'll go to you next.
Not a angle, but it is the dynamic angle.
It is.
Where are we at on the notes here? Odin drops a nice little line, which is innocent in isolation, but with context makes it a little bit more meaty. And that's they're both born to be kings.
Yes.
Yes, good stuff.
It's a good line.
Yeah.
Only one of you can ascend to the throne.
'cause it's
but
not
both
lying.
of you were born to be kings.
Yep.
It's arguably Odin
it's
setting up Loki's fall.
I guess so.
Mhm.
Setting up expectations.
I'll go of gosh, again, I don't know. I feel like this is more than a nitpick, but not an issue because this is the first movie. And it's hard to identify because we've done it with Iron Man where the first movie states something about characters, and moving forward, if something changes or retcons, it's the next movie, not this one. But this
Yeah.
movie's about history of mythology and a lot like immortals and their past. A big thing with me in this movie, and I don't think Thor's stupid enough for it to just be bypassed, is that it really plays off that Loki has never tricked Thor. Ever. And there's later in like Ragnarok when he explains like, oh, one time Loki turned into a snake and bit me, and the mistrust of like, brother, you always do this. But it feels in this movie that Loki's been so innocent and a kind brother that upon tricking Thor that like Odin's dead and you're banished forever and all this, it's never been a trick to Thor. And this is a first time instance. That doesn't fully sit well with me.
There's okay,
I
so there
see the pitch.
I can see the pitch. I don't know if there's enough in here to corroborate that though. Because there's a difference between playing Loki playing tricks on Thor and giving him mischief, right? And then being malicious. Like him manipulating
Yeah.
Thor to like, you know, you're right. I think we should go to Jotunheim and demand answers. And then he realizes he gives Thor the and you know, that's manipulating Thor into getting the idea they can all go to Jotunheim and demand answers. And then also because so there is manipulations used, I think, prior to the trickery, like, you know, he uses the fake image of pleading to stab Thor in the back and stuff like that later on. But I don't know if we have enough to just say outright he hasn't played small tricks on Thor before the beginning of this film.
Yes. The only two things that kind of help it is the mythology book in the library that Selvig goes through that has a whole paragraph on Loki being a mischief god. So that's kind of in world established. And then also I think it's Volstagg or Fenrir, one of the two, when they're talking about the banishment of Thor, that they're like, oh, could have been Loki. And they're like, well, Loki's always been one for mischief. So that's known in Asgard or amongst them in their group.
And then obviously the Warriors 3 and Sif, they draw a distinction of like, yeah, that's mischief, but now we're talking treason. Like they have a distinction
Same
for
scene.
Loki.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
but then Thor like not second guessing it and just fully believing Loki, just kind of, I don't want to say it plays off Thor being too stupid, but it just doesn't seem fitting in the mythology or the tale of it. I get its character introduction of Loki of this movie and Thor of this movie, but it just doesn't seem right.
I think it has to do with the layers and the situations there, and like Loki tricking Thor with a snake is different than Loki lying that his dad's dead. Like, I think Thor has no reason to doubt Loki lying with something that big and important.
True,
especially during the
but it's
circumstances.
to be believed if this is the biggest thing of that event. If something this hefty, that's not a silly prank to be pulled off. But I don't know if upon getting the casket from the war of 960 AD, if that's them as kids. Well, it can't be them as kids because Loki was a baby at that time. But over 1,000 years, more than likely, of them growing up together as immortals, that's 1,000 years of trickery. I don't see it as, oh, Loki's only just started that in the past 10 years.
I mean, we don't really get a time frame on that. Like, all of these like illusionary tricks, is that something Loki's born with, or a trade?
His mom is Freya is the one that taught him magic. That's established in the second film, but that's also kind of implied here as well.
So, yeah, they had 1,000 years, but we don't know how far along Loki gets that
Trickerous ways began. Yes.
Yeah.
Now
10 years, probably not, but not 1,000 years.
No, not 1,000 years, but even like 500 years of that.
Have anything for that timeline?
Yeah, I just don't really like how the movie plays it off of like this is the first instance Loki's being a trickster.
I mean, the movie
I
doesn't
can
though.
grant you Thor is never wary of Loki. Really, I'll grant you that. But I don't know if I see that as a definitive issue in this. Because the scenarios they're in together before any reveals are kind of serious situations, like them going to fight the frost giants. Don't think Thor would go in expecting Loki to trick him or something. We don't
No,
get any
never
like leisure moments,
expects.
like they're at a bar or a pub or something, and then Loki keeps filling up his drink with an illusion, but it's an empty cup or something.
Yeah, no, never expects, and that gets played off differently. I think when Avengers comes around, and then it's like Loki being the big bad, and later, more moving forward, like anytime there's a situation or problem, Thor's immediate thought goes to Loki.
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
it just doesn't. It's not here in this one.
the
in this
implication
first
is
film.
that this is the big one. Like this is not, this is above the little tricks and like pranks. This is Loki choosing to cross a huge line.
Yes.
That would be probably the best way to interpret the film. At least to the
Focus
film's
will have
benefit.
ripples.
Yes, to the benefit of the film. But again, I don't want to blame stupidity onto Thor or naivety, like he's so lost in Midgard of a new setting to his life that he's oblivious to it. But
Thor is very brazen and bullheaded, and that does come with a level of leeway. But that being said, it negates potentially a lot of what their history would be and a lot of what it is going forward. And but that is not
yeah, it's
the fault of this film. That would be the fault of the other films for retroactively introducing problems to this one.
yes, which is why I brought up the Iron Man example of it. It's a little tough for me of a story. I know it's an original story, but these aren't original characters.
These iterations are original to themselves.
Yes, but that still has to be based off of something. So that it's just a little hiccup, tricky.
That goes into adaptation stuff, which we've had on the podcast before. Of like, is it bad if, let's say, they take only the name of a book, and it's completely different, like Blade Runner from to Dreaming of Electric Sheep, completely different stories, but they adapt some of like the cyberpunkish feeling into Blade Runner, but they don't necessarily like adapt the book itself. So it would technically be a bad adaptation of the book that it's based on, but it still tells a story within itself.
Yes.
Well, it's like all the animated Disney movies where the ones based off the Grimm fairy tales, they aren't the same thing.
No, you don't have the stepsisters cutting off feet in the cartoon.
Yeah, so they're they're just a different adaptation. Shouldn't be 100% held to the source
No,
because it's
100 to
original.
100. But I remember the whole when we covered Christmas carols, me just comparing stuff to the book.
Oh yeah,
Well, I mean, yeah,
but I did try butting heads with that, with this kind of thought process of it's not really fair to the adaptation to hold it
Yes.
to that stuff.
yeah,
So
it's your, like I said, it's the audience, or in our case, us, the critics, right? The cheap seat critics, as it were, to balance what prior knowledge, what we are bringing into this to hold an adaptation accountable if we want to, but we also have to balance that with how to give the adaptation its chance and stand on its own and stuff like that. And I always use the example of like, I mean, for me, my personal one is I always go to Lord of the Rings. It's not necessarily an accurate adaptation of the books, but it still does not degrade how excellent the movies are on their own merit.
yes.
Um, so I guess to kind of use that to lead into, I guess, what the point you're trying to make, Sprinks, is is it an comic adaptation issue you're having, or is it a mythology adaptation issue you're having?
No, it's a mythology. Loki is the god of mischief and trickery, and as I said, it hasn't been 10 years for him to given that title. It's been a long time, and living with Thor and Asgard all this time, I feel like there would be more knowledge of this is Loki trickery. Now, the Odin death is probably the biggest take of a trick or prank he's ever pulled, which is why Thor is so shocked by it and takes it as belief. But I just feel there should be more knowledge that this is something Loki does. Or upon them going to Jotunheim, Thor being like more to Loki, like, no tricks, brother. You know, we're here to take down, to stop
Some
a war
more
or something like that.
acknowledgement of Loki's past.
Yes, because it really plays off like Loki's been a good guy to Thor his whole life until here.
Yeah.
With the
Okay.
exclusion of what the Warriors 3 and Civ say.
Yeah,
They
but
do establish he plays.
he's been a trickery trickster, yes, but it's not just to the Warriors 3 and Civ. It's been to Thor 2 and maybe even Odin. Or
Well, I'm sure, probably.
Yeah.
so that's where I rest with it.
I think
It's not an objective hit. I'll say that,
yeah.
but I think it is a subjective one.
It would improve, I think, yes, it would improve the adaptation, I guess, of these characters from mythology to this if we were given a spectrum of what Loki's harmless pranks and tricks are before. Even if it's something like them, they're all eating dinner together or something like that, and Loki conjures like a joke, like he makes Thor's drink like water instead of wine, you know, or something to that effect. Something small where you can see he does these little tricks, but they're harmless, so you could still see how he earned that God of Mischief title, but there's still only brotherly love between them. That would be, I'm guessing, what you would want, right?
Yes, something to show more established that this is an occurrence that Loki does.
Okay, yeah, it's not an objective
and
issue.
known to Thor.
It's not an objective issue for me, but I agree. I think that would improve the adaptation from the mythology.
Yeah, the thing I'm thinking of is with what the current structure of this movie we have, I don't really know where I would put it, like as a visual. Maybe like Thor could say something, but because we go from them as kids to the
The ceremony where he's getting coronation.
the ceremony. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for, coronation. And then straight to Jotunheim. There's not really a leisure time for that kind of interaction to typically happen. So
It would have been funny if Loki masked Mjolnir, so Thor couldn't see it, and then Loki gets either bumped by Civ or Freya or something. Then he waves his hand and comes back. I don't know, something
during the ceremony. Yeah,
Thor,
I could see that.
Yeah, Thor's big ceremony, and he's doing something to be a little prankster.
I'd want to do, if I were to introduce a prank here for them, I'd want to do some when they were kids in the vault. That's kind of when I would want to do that. I don't know what I would do to derail the important lesson, but I would probably want to do some small prank there where Loki is just kind of plays a tiny prank on Thor for wanting to slay all the frost giants, and then Loki makes a small projection to show, not something super immaculate to show that he's still quote unquote learning from Freya, but something like a small projection where he gives Thor bunny ears to make him look unserious when he's threatening to kill all the frost giants.
It could be something where he's looking at the casket and Thor goes, "Come on, brother, let's go," and Loki's not coming, and it's worrying Thor a little, and then the illusion disappears and Loki's actually at the stairs telling Thor, "Come on."
Yeah, that would work.
That way it shows the interest of Loki still in the casket, but also playing a prank on his brother that's harmless.
Well, he wouldn't have an interest in the casket at this point, but it would still pull a harmless prank, I think.
Not in the mindset of him when he's older, but something as an artifact that his father just achieved, or brought them to show.
Okay, all right, yeah. So I'm in agreement, Springs, with you. I think subjectively it would improve the film just to give that little nice bit of more mythology to what's going on.
Yes. Yeah. Because a lot of these scenes, early on, Loki's just standing there not saying anything.
He's observing.
Which is great because he's observing and scheming the whole time, but he's not interacting.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm kind of really happy I got to watch this in projective lens, because now I'm watching this obviously with the knowledge that this is all one big scheme from Loki to a degree, not all of it, but a fair amount of it. And so him knowing that he's at fault for the appearance of the frost giants, I don't think he was expecting Thor and Odin to have as big as a fallout as they did in the vault. But he realizes he can play it up just a little bit to make things a little bit worse.
Yes. and him just in that scene saying like father and being yelled at by Odin shows to Thor mentally and physically Loki tried. So it's not an argument later. It's like, oh, when father did that, you just stood there and didn't do anything. It actually shows like, oh, he did do something, but the thing he did was so minor.
When Odin growled at him and they come back, or do you mean in the vaults?
Upon the banishment.
Okay, yeah.
That way Thor knows, oh, my brother tried, which gives more belief onto Thor. So, but again, could be scheming, maniacal way.
Yeah,
Loki playing with
what I do like about the scene, at least in the eye of Odin, it looks like Loki wants to dive in after Thor, after he's banished. Like he wants to go be with his brother. There's a little bit of that, I think, in Tom Hiddleston's acting for the character. And obviously he doesn't do that because he realizes the scheme would be more useful if he's just here.
Yes. I do find it weird that Tom Hiddleston went into act for Thor for this movie.
Yes.
Turned down.
Yeah, that always I find that always very interesting. The audition tapes of Tom Hiddleston trying to get the role as Thor. He would have been a brilliant Thor, to be honest with you, but he's just way too good of a Loki.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of made for it.
I think that was a fact. I also saw that this was the second time in history, I think, that two actors who were brothers both going for the same role. And this one was between Chris and Liam Hemsworth for Thor, where the previous one was between Alec and another Baldwin brother, both going for Batman and Batman Forever, and lost to Val Kilmer.
That's funny.
I will say Alec Baldwin as Batman would have been really bad.
That would have been an event. Young Alec Baldwin, if we're talking like Hunt for Red October, Alec Baldwin, Beetlejuice, I actually think he could pull it off. He's not a terrible actor. He could do it. It just I am interested in seeing it, but he would have to prove that he can do the role. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think he could do a Bruce Wayne. I don't know about Batman.
So, big question.
Big answer.
What is Loki's big plan, and how much of it is improvised for events?
I think Loki's big plan is to get a fierce situation between the Ice Giants and Asgardians to spark the idea of a war, but for him to be the solver of the problem that he has created in line to witnesses to show how much he is protecting Asgard as its rightful new heir and king. So it's not just bestowed a title upon him because of Thor, but proof that he deserves it from witnesses of others for his actions. That's what I think.
He explicitly says, right, that he wants to prove that he's a worthy son, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he does say that, but then again, it's Loki.
I mean, I can.
Saul, right?
Yeah, I can.
He says it emotionally, though.
Yeah, I can buy. Yes. I can buy that being his actual motivation for this, because he looks heartbroken once Odin rejects this concept at the very end of the film, and that's why part of why he lets go, because he realizes that there was no way he could win that affection.
He also yells to Thor that he never wanted to be king, never wanted the throne.
Yeah.
And I think that too is also like a truthful situation because the emotion played.
So, with Loki letting in the initial frost giants, do you think his plan was to then get Thor riled up to go there, or what do you think his actions were from that?
I think his action was to get the Asgardians to see bad lighting on the Ice Giants for breaking into Asgard. Now, Thor took it upon himself to go, which Loki definitely played into because of the stupidity of his brother. But I think it could have been guards. I think anyone to get under Odin's skin to see that the Ice Giants have interfered in some way to get into their weapon vault.
The interesting thing about this, right, is Loki explicitly leaves directions for one of the guards to go to Odin, and he's angry with the guard for taking so long because they would never have reached Jotunheim. So there's a part of me that, and mind you, that could be Loki lying. We have to always add the caveat. But if that's him telling the truth, he did not want them to go to Jotunheim to make things worse because he just wanted the prank to ruin his brother's coronation. But now it's turned into this big thing where there's a kind of a wedge between Thor and Odin at this point. And
That could be very much true as well. That it was just a big prank to throw up the coordination.
yeah, I mean, that's what he says. It was just to spoil his brother's big day. I don't think he expected it to turn into as big a thing as it does. Because, mind you, this is only if he's telling the truth about the guard going to tell Odin that they left and wanting him flogged for taking so long because they never should have reached Jotunheim. If that's true, then that wasn't initially Loki's full plan hasn't come to fruition. He's still just on the minor end of being it was a prank that he pulled to ruin his brother's day, but not necessarily his plan to go to Jotunheim for everything to go down the way it does.
Yes, it wasn't the start. It became the initial start of his dominoes falling.
Yeah.
But he didn't set it up that way.
I think his plan is fully formed when he visits Thor in the Shield facility.
Ooh.
I feel like it was
I
before
feel like it's made
that.
before that.
No, I feel like that's when
'Cause-
he's got a completed idea. I feel like the idea is forming before that, but I think it's solidified as to what he wants because that's when he learns that there is a plan for Thor to come back, and that's him, incorporating that into what his goal is.
Yeah, when his mom's like, Odin always has a reason for things. Then he went to check, okay, well, why did he send Thor down there then?
Yeah.
Then he finds a broken Thor with a hammer he can't pick up.
Maybe. Anyway. Just the thoughts, I guess, on when his full plan came to fruition, or when he had the idea to commit to what he was doing.
Yes. That's very
It's
interesting.
tricky.
I know a lot of people argue, or it's an arguable conversation, that Loki is the biggest arc character in MCU.
Some do say that, yeah.
Yeah. And then this being his initial start is just interesting.
Well,
I know where writer sits on that.
no, I'm probably in agreement. I think there's some inconsistencies along the way, but I think he would have he has quite a fairly big arc from where he goes here to the end of Ragnarok, where he's staying with his brother again.
Oh, I was going to say at the end of Loki season 2.
Oh no, I view that as a different character.
That's what I thought.
I mean, obviously, it's a different character. They shortcut all his character development because he watched the MCU in a condensed manner. That's how they did his character arc, and I
Touché.
might have thrown something at the wall when they did that because they pulled out Avengers 1 Loki into that situation, and that's a very different Loki from the end of Ragnarok.
Touche. It is a different character. I agree. Anyhow, let's go to Crimson for next point.
Okay. I need to find where the heck we are now because
We kind of jumped around a bit.
We
Yeah.
did some jumpy.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll just do another overarching point. Heimdall. He is an interesting character to me, to where I think they've created a character that's too strong. He has the ability to see everything and everyone except for important moments.
Well, the implication is Loki's hiding from him.
Yes, that was my question. I was gonna have how did Loki achieve that?
Yeah,
How
how
did he
does
hide
he
from
do that? And even if that happens, let's go with Loki visiting Thor on Earth. He would at least see Thor talking to Loki. He might not see Loki if for some reason Loki's hidden, but he'd be knowing Thor's talking to him.
I think at least this Heimdall's portrayal is he can see anything he chooses, but he can't see everything at the same time.
Well,
don't
okay.
know
So the defense for that one is that when Loki comes back from Jotunheim after making a deal with them, Heimdall explicitly states, "I could neither see nor hear you."
Attempting to find Loki, yes. Which poses the question, how did he hide from him?
Yeah, he knows he's on Jotunheim, but he couldn't see him he couldn't see him, he couldn't hear or see him wherever he was on Jotunheim.
Yes.
So I don't know how Loki hides himself from him, but all we know is that it's an ability he possesses.
And I don't know. I'm kind of on the border whether or not that's a required thing to know. Because
Is
just
it
saying, "Oh, he's
also
a trickster," doesn't really explain how he's able to trick him.
no?
Doesn't it?
It's not explained.
Yeah,
Is it also posed that Odin can also see all?
He does react when he's like in his coma and stuff. So yes, and he knew that the frost giants broke into the vault during the ceremony.
Yeah. I'm just
So
trying to think.
yes,
Does he possess the same as Heimdall? But
probably
at least to some degree.
it's more of like a sense for him or a connection because he wasn't looking like Heimdall. I think can like look to a place and know. Odin just gets like something occurred and figures it out. So I think it's slightly different between the two, but they can still see things. Maybe I do think they're different, but very similar.
Yeah, I'm not
But
sure of the
regardless,
Allfather's powers, mostly because the Allfather's in a coma for most of the film.
yeah, he's too OP. But my point still stands of when Loki's talking to Thor on Earth, Heimdall would at least know what Thor's talking about.
I mean, like I said, if that were the
Well,
case, he would be able to hear at least Laufey's return comments on Loki. So I think Loki can extend that barrier to whomever he needs to.
I can go
However it
with that. It
is.
just needs to be explained. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm
it's a
in it.
missing detail.
I'm in agreement. It could use a little more explanation. We kind of get hints that it's some magic trickery, but that we don't really get anything definitive on how it functions or works.
Another little nitpick I have with that too is Thor's in that room being watched by Loki, and if he's masking it so Heimdall can't see him, that's magic. That's fine. But shouldn't there be a camera in that room for surveillance to be able to check? Maybe Loki's hidden from the camera, being like mirrored or something, but they should still be able to get the physical essence of this Midgardian Thor and pick up what he's talking about.
You
With
mean Shield?
microphones,
Yeah,
yeah,
like Shield have a camera on Thor in this interrogation room.
Yeah. The only
I would say yes.
I would lean yes. The only defense I have for that not being the case is one, it's more magical trickery onto Loki, and the other one is it's kind of a rugged, quickly built
Makeshift
makeshift shield facility. They would be more focused on external cameras and stuff like that. So that could have just been a hastily constructed cell for that night because Thor just happened to break in.
I can see that as a valid excuse.
Yeah,
Also, the technology theoretically is still faulty because they said it's from the hammer that the
Oh yeah, all the tech
yeah.
freaks out.
So there are some excuses for it, and inferences I can make. So I don't necessarily I don't have a large issue with that Shield doesn't know Thor's quote unquote talking to himself.
What is something that could be seen, I think, is well, again, it goes on to like Odin's ability, but when Odin says you can't go to Jotunheim, you can't start a war to Thor, and Thor, like a immature brute, tosses a table and he's talking to his friends and Loki, and I think he says like 5 times, "We're going to Jotunheim." If that's all in Asgard, couldn't Odin see that before they reached the Bifrost Gate with Heimdall?
That depends. Yes, is probably what I'll say.
Unless Loki's masking that whole time, all of them.
I don't think Loki would need to do that because again, this goes into I don't understand the Allfather's powers either. I'm sorry, I keep calling him that, but Odin's all powers either. With regards to that, because I could see him being heavily distracted. He might be talking to security to try and figure whatever passes for Asgard's version of security to figure out how the fuck the frost giants got in. And then could be distracting enough to where he doesn't see that, but since Heimdall is just constantly guarding the gate, he would know what they're there for because he's also happens to be curious about how they slipped past his watch.
Could be.
the
Okay.
aspect of like masking somebody is also a red flag, because if you see somebody and then they disappear, now you're going to focus on 'em, and that now there's something off, right?
Yeah, well, so that's why I assume he's not doing it in every scene that he is in when they're trying to sneak off to Jotunheim. It wouldn't make sense for that to do there because, at least again, if it's true that he said dispatch the guard to tell Odin where they were going to try and stop them, I don't see him needing or having a reason to mask them if he doesn't actually want to go.
So where I'm at is they don't establish how Loki stays hidden, therefore I see it as an issue.
I agree.
I agree. I think it needs to be a little bit more consistent, and then they could be as hands off with this magic trick that they're going with as they want. But I would need something more consistent with it.
Yep, I just wanted to explain to the audience.
Yep. That would make it way better.
Yep. Let's go to writer for a point.
Okay. I will go to jumping to them being in Jotunheim. It's really strange is that Laufey's anti-war in this scene. If his intention is to prosecute a war against Asgard. Because it's really only one of his men that provokes the fight. Laufey seems to be really, really against the idea of war in this scene, up until obviously the Asgardians kill like a lot of them.
Yeah, and then you have the fuel of revenge.
Yeah, but my point in this,
I don't know if I. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, you finish.
I don't know if I'd agree that he's like very anti-war. He's just cautious about it. He gave Thor a warning, and if he didn't abide by it, he would have tried to kill him. So
maybe I don't know. I got the distinction
as
like
did not abide to it.
Yeah, well, I
No,
mean, he was half provoked, but the thing that kind of leads me to believe that Laufey was anti-war is probably too strong a way to phrase it, but he's more than well aware of the cost of war. Like he's like, you don't know what your actions would bring. I do. Go now. Return to Asgard and stuff like that. It kind of, with that dialogue, it makes me question as to why he, if it was done within his knowledge, why he would even send the Frost Giants to Asgard to try and steal the casket back. Because knowing that would theoretically provoke this response.
Well, if he successfully procured it, then he would regain his strength, and then it would be an actual fight. But in their current state, yeah, I feel like they would just get wrecked.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the motivations for Laufey aren't completely clear, other than he wants to kill Odin later on. But there is some bits here early on that don't make less sense, and later parts of the film, like obviously, there's a traitor in the house of Odin, or in shit like that.
It's well established that he's an idiot.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, Laufey's not great.
So, Laufey or Whiplash?
Great question.
I'm honestly gonna go with Whiplash. I think personally.
I think I'll go Laufey, whatever.
Ooh, that's really tough. So, what is the full definition of your question you're asking?
There was no full definition. It's just which one do you think, I guess, played their role better?
That's a definition. Which one played the role better?
As the villain in their story, I guess.
Oh. Whiplash.
Like I said, I think
definition I'd say Whiplash.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Laufey's motives or Laufey's his intelligence is too inconsistent for me to fully latch onto him as a man. You're such a threat, after watching all the heroes just wipe like hundreds of your men out in like minutes.
Yeah, Iron
Is
Man
that-
2, Whiplash, and Justin Hammer were very, I think, neck and neck villains of the film. This one, Loki is far
Beneath
outweighed
Loki.
and overlooked beneath Loki. He's like a henchman in comparison. They're not on
And
even playing ground.
it made me really think how the heck it was a long-standing war. Because yeah, one Thor takes out a whole army pretty much. The casket or
Yeah.
whatever it's called can't be.
That's what Loki said. He could kill them all on his own.
It's kind of ridiculous. Because all we really see with it's called the casket, right?
Yeah, they
Yes.
just refer to it as the casket.
The icebox.
The casket, it just looks like it's a laser beam, a ice beam. You know, and a teleporter for the Bifrost, but that's not really a weapon. So I don't see how that can be a game changer.
Is Heimdall a god?
Yes,
I
I
mean-
think so.
Are Asgardians gods? They're just aliens, right?
They're aliens. Okay.
We just perceive them as gods.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that's gonna blow a couple people's minds that are like, what? Yeah, in the MCU, Asgardians are aliens. Okay, I was just curious how powerful then is the casket to freeze Heimdall for a duration of time.
The benefit of that is it catches him off guard.
Well, I think Sprinks is maybe hinting of why he didn't die to it. Is that what
Yeah,
you
I'm like
found?
the power of the ice, the power of what
Yeah.
the casket can do. Like to a mortal, it probably kills him.
I see.
Yeah, but we also see it used in the war, and it did kill Asgardians.
It did. Froze
It
himself. Well,
froze
then again,
them, and then they got
no
smashed.
one smashed Heimdall.
No, but if you're at the point where you shatter because you're frozen, you're dead.
Should be
That's
internal internal freezing.
if your whole body is a brick, then yeah, there's no part of you functioning anymore.
I guess that wasn't achieved with Heimdall. Interesting.
So I guess he did a low yield blast.
I arguably Loki has no idea the levels of power with it to play with, but no idea.
Could also be true. It's first instance of using it.
I
Oh,
yeah, I was gonna, Heimdall is in the lore. He is the watchman of the gods. Like his job is to watch over Asgard. So it's not too far off as like from his Norse portrayal. But again, power levels with the Asgardians are fairly inconsistent because Thor can lay waste to armies, while I feel like the Warriors 3 plus Sif can probably fight maybe 10 people at a time, not armies.
Yeah. Oh, they don't have Mjolnir, so
that's true. I don't know. Hela wiped them
Oh,
in Ragnarok.
yeah, deservedly so. They weren't characters. But
a little though. Unless you got more.
no, I got no more.
Okay. A little nitpick kind of thing. I had it with Iron Man 2. When they travel by Bifrost to Jotunheim, they're going head first, and they hit head first over kind of an ice ridge to the surface of Jotunheim, and upon the Bifrost ending, they're on their feet. In Iron Man, it happened when he hit the sand, and then when it shows his feet are in the ground. So it could be hidden over the hill and all the smoke and whatnot being made that they like flip last second, but
yeah, I suppose so.
just one of those little nitpicks that just like they do it to look cool, but it actually doesn't line up if that's right.
Yeah.
Let's go to Crimson.
Alright, so I guess at the Battle of Jotunheim, I do think they do a good job at establishing powers and abilities and stuff here. Mjolnir we see is a flying device. It's like a boomerang. It comes back. You can do like the whole spinning fan attack. There's a lot of versatility with the weapon. We see the combat capabilities of the warriors, and like we said, they're kind of middling compared to Thor, but they are proficient to stand their ground against a horde of enemies. And we do see Loki with a trick. Unfortunately, I think it's stupid because the Frost Giant was just going to jump off a cliff with Loki.
Yeah, the Frost Giant would know there's
So-
a giant fucking hole there. It'd be more interesting if he Spartan kicked the hologram and then Loki Spartan kicked him. That would be what you would do in
That'd
that
be cool.
scenario.
Maybe a little better.
Yeah, but here he just dove off to kill himself with
just-
Loki. That was his big plan.
Just really, really wanted to kill Loki, I guess. Didn't care for his own safety.
Really dedicated. And this whole fight gives me the funniest part in this movie to me, and that's the Frost Giant realizing Loki's hand was blue.
And then
It's so funny. The guy's face was priceless to me.
he's just surprised. He and Loki look at each other and Loki just fucking cuts his head off.
It was pretty funny. I don't think that was the intent that it was supposed to be funny, but that was my takeaway from it.
It's a efficient way of storytelling, I guess, in the way that they set up the fact that don't let them touch you, and then obviously Loki over the course of fighting
immediately.
Yeah, it's pretty immediate, but over the course of fighting, obviously Loki gets touched. We see the armor break, and we just see nothing happens other than his hand starts turning blue, which is hint, hint, something's off with Loki.
Yeah.
Well, you get this
Immediately
shattered
showing
effect on his arm or something.
Armor, yeah.
Yeah, his armor breaking off.
Oh, that was armor? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but he's not getting frostbitten.
Yeah, the Frost Giant doesn't get cold. I wonder if that'll come up later on.
Oh, interesting. I think the choreography is fine for the fight, but I think the camera work isn't. They are very zoomed in Dutch angles where both the attacker and the attackee are both cut from the frame, and it's such quick hits and edited cuts that it's not. The only thing I could really make out is that contact's being made. I can't really tell what the move is, where the attack's hitting, how lethal it is. And this is with the Warriors 3 and Sif.
Sif is clearer, but I think I tend to agree. I take issue with not just I take issue with some of the choreography too, but they hide a lot with this fight because they're essentially fighting CGI monsters. So
Yeah, but then they give it to Thor, and Thor's wrecking shop. I also don't know why Thor waited so long to use his lightning attacks. Maybe because he thought it would be less fun.
that, or he just didn't want to risk collateral. Because we see once he uses
Maybe.
the lightning stuff, the fucking ground gives way, and I don't think the Warriors 3
Yeah.
and Loki and Sif could fly.
That could be it. What do you think, Crimson, over the quick cut
Lightning?
choreography?
Oh, the quick cuts.
Or the lightning?
I didn't have the whole misunderstanding of what's happening on screen like you did, but I did have the issue of not being able to understand where everyone is in relation to each other. Because it all, some of them felt like they were near the cliff or spire area, but then there's Loki on the edge of a cliff, but then Thor's in the back by the cliffside, but you don't see the others around him. So I guess my issue with just how the fight's portrayed is I don't know where everyone is together on there.
Yeah, that's probably where I would lean more heavily.
Yes. The geography location of everyone is off.
Yeah,
Or just hidden.
Because you never really see one fighting in the background when it's focused on someone.
Yeah. Also, for a group fighting of 6, it seems the fighting's always the one characters. You don't see people fighting in the background, or the fights interacting with each other.
Oh, you don't see team fighting either. Outside of
Yeah.
when they need to rescue the I don't know his fucking name.
Blondie.
Blondie. I call him
Blonde
the rapier user. Whenever they needed to rescue rapier user, I didn't. That's the old time that I think there's multiple people on screen for the fight.
Wannabe Zachary Levi.
The pre-Levi.
Yeah, pre-Levi.
Pre-Vi.
Pre-Vi sounds like a bad
Sounds like a
medication.
drug. I
Yes.
know.
Close enough. Same thing, different page.
I could be talked around it, but I see it as another little nitpick thing. It's really cool, Thor turning into like a bullet to go through the monster's mouth and headshotting it, but
No
he is
blood.
completely spotless.
Yep. I had the same thing.
Well, don't you see? He just went through it so fast.
That's I knew someone was gonna say.
Okay, well, here's the other one. See, he wore a red cape, so
No,
that's why Deadpool
no
Red's the wear.
Deadpool effect. No.
There you go. There's
Sure,
my
Blue.
that could be it, but his hair and face are spotless.
Yeah, there would be gore on him. You're not gonna get any pushback from me outside of the jokes.
Oh, where did I write this?
Over there. Right there on that page.
Okay,
Right on that line.
yes, no. This just reminded me. Upon it's a little later when they're looking for Thor, and they go to the hospital and he's not in his room, and they go back to the car. And I wrote, it's a coincidence for comedy to hit Thor with the car again, where they went to his room and back and didn't spot him.
Well, he presumably would have tried to sneak out. So that's the only defense I can make of that. Is he went out a different way.
But how did... Okay, so he just took a different route than the immediate exit, because they probably took the quickest route to get to his room and to get out of the hospital.
Yeah, presumably he
Well,
went
they
the
probably
way
took the elevator,
that.
and he doesn't know what an elevator is, probably.
Yeah, presumably he took the way out that had the least amount of people, because he has to sneak his way out. He knows that much, at
Okay.
least.
Crimson, you're going with the elevator?
Possibly. I mean, I'm going to agree with you regardless that it's convenient.
Oh yeah,
timing.
I'm also going to agree it's convenient, by the way, just regardless. But I'm just pointing out.
Okay, cool. Just want to check because I wrote an additional note in my notes about it.
But I do
Note
want to say
states-
it's feasible. The timing there, that's
Okay.
feasible. But it is convenient regardless.
I wrote, Crimson, if the devil on your shoulder says he was taking a piss, this is future sight proof.
I don't think I'd go that route.
I just figured I'd make it and you would say something. It's like, oh, he could be doing this, or this could have happened.
To be blunt, that's how I feel you would usually say something to me.
Oh,
Some weird alternative left field thing.
it's a crazy coincidence that we're friends.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want to jump on that real quick. But
I will jump to. I think I don't remember it fully, but I have it on my notes that I wanted to tweak the Laufey's dialogue when he and Odin are face to face again, briefly discussing whether there should be war or not, because it's very, very like, wasted potential is kind of where I'm leaning on it. He's like, these are the actions of a boy, treat them as such. When obviously Laufey comes back with like, this is war, when I feel like your boy just killed like hundreds and you want me to treat this as nothing. It feels like there's so many more things that Laufey could say back to Odin to kind of...
Laufey could say much better dialogue, yes.
Yeah, Laufey has so many dialogue options in this scene, but he chose the worst one.
Just trying to get to the point, I guess.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's
Take the attention
lacking.
off of him.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it takes the blame off of him that Thor did this, because the actions of two people sneaking in, the actions of three Frost Giants sneaking in to try and get the casket differs from Thor and the Warriors 3, Sif and Loki, going in and killing hundreds, if not thousands.
Yeah. Genocide. Which then Loki tries to achieve later.
Yeah, so
They all had families.
They don't have a civilization. You don't know that.
I know, they don't even seem to have
They don't have
like,
a market.
a binary or anything.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of dudes. Unless they're born of the ice. I don't know.
Oh no. What I do find a little interesting is when Loki tries to, I guess, stab Odin and grows an ice dagger hiddenly or secretly. Hiddenly is not a word. Secretly. I made the connection that Loki does that with daggers moving forward, like he puts it behind his back and a dagger appears. And I went, oh, that's cute. He learned a trick from his dad.
Son like father.
Yeah, sure. I guess that fits. Also, Loki's using daggers is actually very, very fitting for his character.
Yeah. Backstabber.
Sure. But I just mean in the
Not you, Loki.
I just mean in the archetype of his character. Like he's the rogue, you know?
Yeah. No, of course. I guess another nitpick. Let's just keep stacking them on. At 26 minutes, when they're at the cliff edge after the beast falls over, and they turn around and they see they're kind of surrounded by ice giants, and it's that bird's eye view shot before the Bifrost comes in. Those ice giants get mighty close to the 6 of them and they're not reacting.
Oh, they're just gonna take it.
Yeah. I'm actually might chalk that more as an issue because it didn't make sense.
No, they were just waiting for Thor to grab them and fly them away.
Yeah, I don't buy that. Sorry,
It's possible, but that's not what they're going for. No. I agree. They just did that to show the stakes were very high.
That's fine, but I still feel like they should have tensed up or prepped or before the Bifrost came in. They're just stationary.
Yeah, no disagreement.
Ryder, you know what we're talking about?
No.
Okay.
One more? You would have run it by me again?
Yeah, there's a bit after Thor goes through the mouth of the beast and kills it, and they're at the cliff edge, and the beast falls over the edge, and they turn around, and there's ice giants around them. So they're by the cliffside, and it shows a bird's eye view of all these ice giants, and they kind of come forward towards the 6 of them before Odin comes down on the Bifrost to Jotunheim. The 6 of them don't move. The ice giants get closer to them, and they're not reacting. Thor's not getting ready to throw a punch or anything.
Oh, yeah.
They're just staying still.
They're just kind of accepting their deaths. Yeah, that is a little weird.
Yeah. With that, let's go to Ryder.
Alrighty. I'll jump to one of my favorite scenes in the film, which is kind of right after this, since we're going linear popcorn. Odin's dressing down of Thor before banishing him. Fucking phenomenal acting on the part of...
You're not worthy!
Yeah. Anthony Hopkins, thank you. I cannot believe I forgot his name for a solid 5 seconds there. But yes, amazing performance on the part of Anthony Hopkins. The growls and all else.
Mannerisms.
The mannerisms. The
rage.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
The internal rage upon a father to son. That was another thing I read in a fact or something. Anthony Hopkins accepted this role without knowing anything about Odin, without reading any Thor comics. He accepted it merely for the fact of liking the idea of a father-son dynamic.
That's a good reason to take it.
Yeah, and if it hasn't been said,
especially with him coming off of, was the Blood Rose before, or
Red 2.
No, what's the movie called? Legend of the Fall. Before this, where he played the father to 3 sons. Could be similar.
Yeah, and if it hasn't been said on the podcast, the growl at Loki in this scene is ad-libbed. So that is a genuine reaction from Tom Hiddleston being shut up.
Very primal.
Yeah. And it really works because up until this point you definitely get Thor's arrogance on full display, but you get a lot of Odin's patience with Thor, but it's reached its end here, and the actor is doing all the work that you would want in a scene like this to express how brokenhearted he is about this, but he has to be stern, You get the layers on just Anthony Hopkins' face of everything, how hurt he is doing it, but he knows it needs to be done.
The fact that Thor thought he could talk his father down is kind of laughable.
I mean, Thor wasn't trying to talk him down. Thor was trying to yell at
We
him.
can take him down together.
Silence.
No, before the screaming match.
Yeah.
As king of Asgard, you're not king.
Yeah.
Not yet. No, it was good. It was good build up. I find it a little funny that Fandral got stabbed by ice, and that's why they have to flee because he's injured. And upon getting to the Bifrost Gate and they're carrying him away, Thor has no care that his friend is bleeding out.
No, he's got bloodlust.
Yeah, he just goes, "Oh, we should kill them all," and like talking to Loki as they're carrying Fandral away.
Yeah, they were all screaming for him, and he was just going. Blah!
Yeah, so I like that. Also, it's not funny. It's not a funny scene, but it does play a little more into Thor's character in that bit.
Oh, it definitely does.
I agree.
I don't know if you two found it funny. I find it funny that Thor's weakness upon arriving to Midgard is lightning. 'Cause he got
Taser.
tased. Yeah.
Electricity.
I thought that was a real tongue-in-cheek.
That's pretty funny.
That's one of those future movies ruin it things.
Yeah.
Because in here, the hammer is the source of his power, but we find
he's
out
the god of
that's
thunder.
not true.
later
It's a
on.
conduit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this shouldn't work.
I just didn't believe.
No.
It's a mind thing. It's all a mind thing.
Yeah. He just thinks he's getting tased, even though he didn't know what a taser was.
He just thinks he's unworthy.
Threaten me with such puny weapons.
It's pretty
It was a
funny.
little funny.
One of the things I might still be riding my Andor high, but I don't know. It's watching these now. I feel like Stellan Skarsgård is so underutilized as an actor.
In
Which one?
the MCU, I'm sorry, what? Did you say which one?
You said something Skarsgård?
Yeah.
Is that
Stellan
Erik?
Skarsgård.
Yeah, Stellan Skarsgård. He plays Erik
Yeah.
Selvig. Doctor.
Selvig.
I mean, he's all over the place in the MCU.
Yeah, like I said,
Yeah,
I feel like
coming
he's.
back.
But having seen like, I would probably argue Andor is probably his best work. Having seen that, it feels very weird to come and see him in this, where he just feels super underutilized.
I don't know.
At least you don't
Bootstrap
see him
Bill is
running
up
around
there.
naked.
Yeah, Bootstrap Bill is pretty high. I do think Andor beats him out, but that's might be personal preference because Bootstrap Bill is just fantastic.
Yeah, the whole playing dementia thing with Will and Dead Mitch. Oh, I think Bootstrap Bill might be my favorite. Yeah, Stellan Skarsgård performance. I can't say Skarsgård because there's like 50 of them. So Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah,
So underutilized, you're saying here? I guess. I mean, he's kind of just like this mentor, guide kind of character.
I would put him in the middle. I think he's properly rated, not overrated, not underrated for this role.
yeah, I think he does a good job with the role. I don't have any issues with it. I just feel like he's being under. Now that I know what he can do as an actor and I've seen the limits of it, I feel like he could do more. He does the best he can with the material he's given, is what I'm saying.
So, what is something you would want in this to exemplify his skills? I guess.
Oh, I have no idea. I didn't think that far. I'm just.
Oh. Would you say, Ryder, the best scene of him in this film is the bar chat with Thor?
That, and I think him picking Thor up from the shield place. Those are probably my two favorite spots where I would have liked to. I think those utilize him the best because he's doing multiple things at once in front of the shield facility. He's trying to lie, but he's trying to, convey to the audience that he's lying while also trying to hide it from the shield agents in the universe. So he's doing multiple things there as an actor that I really love to see. And then obviously the bar scene is just the sincerity. So I think those two would probably be my favorite picks for acting. My third one would actually be him finding the mythology book. It's very small, but you get so much character from that.
Yes. Just a question then for Ryder. Have you seen Mamma Mia?
Pizzeria?
Movie Mamma Mia?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, just curious. He's in that one too.
I haven't. For those
Okay.
who are wondering.
Good. Well, sorry, Crimson. I didn't mean to exclude.
No, you know I haven't.
I went forward knowing you haven't seen it. Okay, cool. Just curious.
The musical comedy.
Yes, just a different acting role for him.
I might check it out. I love Stellan Skarsgård. Who knows?
I don't know if it's a nitpick situation I have, but upon Thor's banishment, and he goes through the Bifrost, there's maybe, I didn't time it, but maybe 10, 15 seconds before Odin throws Mjolnir into the Bifrost, and they're both arriving to New Mexico. There's such a time difference between Thor landing in New Mexico and Mjolnir landing. And I don't know what's causing the time delay.
I don't know. Maybe the hammer has its own mind and it wanted to not go to Earth. So it slowed its descent. I got
that. I call bullshit.
I got one.
Sorry.
No, I got one. Hold on. I can do another bullshit. Give me a second. Let me cook. All right. So because the Earth is not stationary in space, we're slowly rotating around the star, moving at some odd kilometers per second, thousands upon thousands of kilometers per second going through space. The Bifrost was still aimed at where Thor was initially dropped. So when the hammer arrived outside of the Bifrost, Earth was no longer in that position, so it had to travel the rest of the distance.
I hope you could audibly feel what the hell. I hope you could get the emotional eye roll I just gave you.
I said let me cook for the bullshit, man.
Yeah, you did, you certainly did.
Hear me out. Maybe, and just maybe
Moon Knight
didn't think about it at all.
Change the night constellation so that it landed different.
Oh,
maybe.
I'm glad you brought that up because they brought that up here where the night sky changed, and I'm like, what?
Oh my god! But the characters noticed because there's astronomy in the universe.
Fancy that! No, where I land on is that when Mjolnir landed, it wasn't with a tornado effect of a Bifrost use. It just went through the Bifrost, so I don't think it was actually using the power of the Bifrost to travel.
Oh, Odin just chucked it from Asgard there.
Yeah, and it landed there.
Yeah, I can see Odin totally doing that.
How it hit. That's the best I got with, because it didn't do the same singularity effect that they would have picked up in the van.
Chucked it across the universe. But I could buy it.
That would be awesome.
But thank you, Crimson, for bringing up the Moon Knight positivity. I like it.
There's no Moon Knight positivity. I don't know if
that makes it positive, but parallel.
No.
Reference.
Another keyword. That'll work.
No.
That's a step in my direction.
Yeah, it's still
maybe not the right direction to you two, but
it's still very shit. But the reason that the night sky changed is when you look into the Bifrost, you're getting a different night sky. The problem with Moon Knight is the entire sky was changed for the entire world, and nobody fucking noticed that there were two fucking kaijus fighting in Egypt.
Because they had the Loki masking. Unexplained. Huzzah.
Yeah, see,
I don't know.
This is a problem.
Moon Knight right now.
They were different things.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Doctor Strange exists in that world at that point.
That's true. That's true. And I know that after Moon Knight finished, they were like, no more Moon Knight in the MCU.
Thank goodness.
They're like, will he get a season 2? Probably not. Will he get a movie? We don't know.
Hey, we got Echo and Ironheart.
Oh, you better be careful there. A lot of big fans of those two.
I don't know about that.
How could you forget Miss Marvel?
There's a lot of...
We've covered Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel was good. Okay.
Yeah.
It was fine.
I think I gave that a 6. That was
now,
right.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Now that is not all right.
I
that
like
is all left.
I like one character in that show.
Crimson, that was really funny. That was a good one. That would go right over my head normally. Woo! All right. Political humor.
Yeah.
Let's go with writer.
All right. So it's a nitpick. I know they do it for the dynamic of the scene to accomplish multiple things at once. When the group they've dropped Thor off at the hospital. They're now getting back to work, and then they're going through their list of like stuff they're collected, and we're getting some character building between the three of them, where we find out Darcy was a political science major and stuff like that, and Dr. Erik Selvig and Jane are having a back and forth over what their findings are and stuff like that, and they're being different stars, and Darcy pulls them all over to the picture with the obvious that's hanging with the obvious person inside of it. I think they would notice that earlier that someone's there in the picture, because it's kind of played off as like it's been hanging there the entire time. And then Darcy just happened to walk over and say, "Oh, look what it is," and they have a double take and need to go back to the hospital. It's for the movie moment,
Yes.
but I understand why they did it. It's for the movie moment, but it could be done a little bit more efficiently by just having a printer going in the background and having Darcy hang up the photos.
Yes, they do play it off of that Darcy is the one in charge of the photos. That's why Selvig and Jane didn't see it.
Yeah.
But it does play off that way of like, come here, look at this. And they're like, oh my God, we missed it.
Yeah, it's a movie moment for sure. Like I said, the quick fix is just have a printer going in the background and just have Darcy hang the photos, and that's when she notices.
Yeah.
Same scene can play out pretty much exactly the same from there on.
I agree.
Yeah.
How'd the random trucker find Mjolnir to start?
I mean, it's a crater, so it does have like a lip at the top. So if he's familiar with the area, he might have saw that.
Like, why is there a crater here? Yeah, I can see that being it.
But it does feel like he just drove straight towards it.
And he could have seen it the night before and just went during the day.
I guess that could be. Okay, I don't know.
It was stormy and kind of hard to see. So
yeah, it just felt like the middle of nowhere for someone to be driving. Like it didn't hit like a road or someone more marked or something. It's just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Oh! I actually have a quick note I forgot to bring up. Jumping back to my favorite scene, one of my favorite scenes with Odin dressing down Thor. Once they're back out of the Bifrost, one of the first things Odin yells to the others is to get the wounded to the healing room, like to get him to the healing room. Then he get him to the healing room now, and then he tosses Heimdall's sword.
he cared about him.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
More so than Thor.
I'm bringing this
How
up.
are you supposed to help? That's true.
Yeah. You can't even protect your friends. How do you expect to protect him? Now, like I said, he yells for them to go to the healing room. But the reason I bring this up is because one of my favorite parallels that I picked up this time is that after Thor gets back from the Bifrost after returning from Earth, his first words is to get one of the warriors through the healing room. To get Heimdall to the healing room. So it's a nice parallel that I picked up to show Thor's kind of changed as a person.
Learning from his mistakes.
Has his priorities in order. His worry is the people around him, which I really loved going through this time and picking that up.
Yeah, that's good.
I agree.
Pick it up.
Let's go to Crimson for a point.
Oh, that's me.
I know. Sorry, put you on the spot.
Yeah. So I guess kind of going back, I'm kind of losing track of where we are, but the Thor in the hospital, I know we kind of talked about it a little bit. Maybe I'm just being too critical, but I feel like after what happened, there would be somebody on guard, like a cop on the door or something.
I would agree. They had security to be called in, and there was more than one security officer in the room when they sedated Thor. If they're latching him to the bed, unless there's another security situation going on for them to take, because there's not going to be so many security officers at a hospital, then there should be someone guarding the outside of the door.
I agree.
That's one.
I know
Or two?
I
Okay, then I am
well,
definitive
okay.
that it's an issue then.
I do know, being that there's security here that was called upon, that's where I sit on. But I do know there are some hospitals that have signs outside of doors between patients' rooms to indicate if a patient is violent or not.
I know this for a
Yeah,
fact
and we also
because
get cops here.
yeah, I know this is a fact because my dad is in charge of quote unquote dangerous patients in the hospital. That's his job.
Oh, last time I was in a hospital, I learned a couple of intercom code words and noticed some signs. So,
Fun times.
anywho, maybe
In
I
quotes.
did write down Thor talking Thor attacking a hospital. Calm down, Joker. Different context, but
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't
Quite
do
different.
the he didn't have to improvise any explosions, but
a detail I caught at 4350 in the town after Thor leaves the diner. There's a billboard in the back for the town, and being that this is a fictional town, made me really think, okay, this is actually set to the location they went with. There is the town's mascot for the sports team, and it's for the Vikings. You know what? Good detail.
How
wait,
appropriate.
this is New Mexico. Why would they have a sport? What? That doesn't make any sense.
Because this is a Norse-centric story writer.
Oh, I
That's the
see. So
reason.
they just threw that in for fun.
Mascots
Okay.
don't have to be based on location necessarily, because sometimes they can be brought up to the schooling district of be like,
Oh,
what do
you
you
said it
guys
was.
want? And they place a vote.
Oh, you said it was sports team. So I just assumed that.
Oh, like a high school.
Okay.
Sorry, it's like home of the Vikings was on the billboard in the back. So I just thought like, oh, the school has Vikings. Little thing to connect. So let's go to Crimson. Sorry again.
All right. I'm going to talk about another overarching one, being the topic of the fish out of water storyline. Obviously, with Thor in this. I mean, I guess kind of the Warriors to some degree, but mostly Thor. I think they did a good job of the fish out of water. The like in the hospital, thinking no one can take him, and it just takes a shot to take him down. The taser, uh, thinking he can ride a dog or a cat, even though I
Yeah,
did
it's
bring
a
up the
quick
kind of
breakdown
little
of
odd.
the character.
Yeah, not fully understanding cars and traffic and stuff. I think they did a good job with it while keeping it funny, but not to like stupid funny levels.
Yeah, they didn't make him an
Yes.
idiot. It just
The only little odd thing, I mean, it plays into humor, is that he's been on Midgard and hasn't seen a single horse, but he sees cars going around and he's traveled by car since being here.
Yeah, but it
I
could
feel like,
boil down to he doesn't know how to drive.
yes, but I feel like Thor in this situation would be more so trying to use machinery of a car than trying to find a horse. But the horse is comical because that's what he's
yeah. I
lived with
mean,
to use.
it's more familiar so for him to look for a horse than it is to look for a car. In the sense that, like, I agree he might look for a car to drive, but that's not necessarily a skill he possesses.
Yeah. I guess I'm fine with it because it could be in the same. If the situation was backwards, I think of like someone's like in a place and they know how to drive a car, but you're surrounded by horses but don't know horseback riding. You'd probably ask, "Hey, is there a car available?"
Probably.
And it helps that like the pet shop is on the street, so you can just see it and be like, "Oh, pet shop, horse."
True. It's also good that he can read English and not Nordic.
Well, that kind of goes with the whole like horse language barrier thing too.
I don't have
I'm
as
for
much of an
pet
issue
shop.
with that
He would
because I can.
study the Nine Realms, right?
Yeah, I would
The-
imagine he would have to study the Nine Realms and stuff like that. It's not. God
Well,
forbid.
we do know as an elective he learned Groot.
Yes, they taught him the elective as Asgard in Asgard. I thought that was cool, a little bit, and from that movie.
I like the detail. I don't like that he called it Groot because Groot's a Flora Colossus, so that's what it would be called. Groot's the name of the character.
Did he know Groot's name by that point? I don't even remember that line.
I do not know.
Okay.
maybe.
Well, it's rag
because I
that it
think Guardians
was.
of the
I was gonna say
but
I was gonna say it's rags, but it's Rocky Raccoon. I don't know why I was gonna say it was rags.
Rabbit.
Yeah, rabbit. Maybe that's where my brain was going. It's rabbit that says, "You speak Groot," and then so he didn't really clarify necessarily
be.
the language that it was on. It was just him saying, they taught it in an elective at
He
Asgard."
speaks his language.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless Flora Colossus in the language is just called Groot, but then Groot's name is just Flora Colossus, so that's real weird. So,
Translation error.
anywho, yeah. Let's go to writer.
Cool. You know what I'll do? I'll jump back to one of my favorite scenes with Anthony Hopkins dressing down Thor. This is, I think, will be the last time. I was just going through my notes and found some more stuff for it. The delivery, I think, in this scene didn't. I didn't really know what the point of the delivery was when I first saw the movie. Looking at it now, I kind of see his delivery as very poetic, the way he goes from one word to the next as far as the acting goes, which I think is a very, very kind of cool way to build into the concept of it, I guess. And added to the season for me with him kind of almost going through the scene like it's lyrical.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, it did
I
flow
like that.
well. Yeah.
Cool. I got a weird one. I watched the movie in subtitles. I think without subtitles, I wouldn't have caught this. When Shield has built their little base around Mjolnir and is experimenting on it, and Thor and Jane come upon it, and Thor goes like, "I'm going in." There's a shot of Mjolnir being scanned or something, and the subtitles say Mjolnir humming, and it's making a hum noise. Is that in world that it's actually making a noise, or is that just like an ambient effect for the audience to give like a tone to the scene?
Which
Uh,
one?
That's kind of tricky because I do feel like it could make a humming, but I would also say they'd have to stick with that whenever the hammer's on screen. So I'm gonna go with it's for the audience.
I just couldn't quite make it out. Yeah, okay. You got it. I leaned with also audience because they're not notifying a decibel reading or noise thing or bringing up that it's making noise with the thunderstorm or any connection to that in the movie.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Quickly trying to find a timestamp for it just in case people are curious.
This is after the shield facility is built.
Yes. This is when Thor is trying to break in. All right, so the timestamp for it, in case anyone's curious, is 55:35. I believe that's the right one. So
For when the
just make it
hammer is
hum.
humming.
Yeah. So let's go to writer.
Sure. I find it interesting how quickly the Warriors 3 and Sif blame, or like they start to suspect Loki as the traitor. It's kind of it's not that it's a leap because it's obviously the idea is Loki's been a trickster and causing mischief, but obviously they view this as crossing a line. I take issue with the fact that they just kind of take Laufey at his word about there being a traitor in the House of Odin when Laufey would have no fucking clue about that.
I agree to an extent because they use that as like the basis of theorizing. Because
Yeah,
then they build upon it like, oh, Loki could do this
yeah.
with the illusions and stuff, the trickery.
I do think it's a bit
And
of a jump, though I don't mind it being a base of suspicion. Does that clarify it better?
I mean,
A
we already
bit,
talked
yeah.
about how stupid it was. I mean, it's clearly just a writing implement here.
Yeah.
So it aids to it, but you're right. Let's go to Crimson.
Hmm. Okay. We'll go. Maybe I'm jumping a little too far, but Odin and Loki talking at the casket in the vault. I think that is quite the nice scene. I've always been a little like on the oh my gosh, Odin's got like a heart attack or something out of a screaming man. It's always been a little like, oh, that's a little convenient for Loki, isn't it? Because what if Odin didn't go into a coma? Then this, sure, it would be quite the different movie. So that I wish it would have been revealed that Loki like poisoned him or did something to him, other than just
He ignored the
had a heart
sleep for
attack
so
or
long.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever it was. It really made Loki's plans really work pretty well that happened.
Yeah, I agree. I quite love the scene overall, outside of the glaring convenience. I view this as, um, without this, the film doesn't happen, or the rest of the story doesn't take place, pretty much.
Essentially, Loki doesn't become temporary king or anything, or have full reign of everything, because Odin would be there.
Yeah, Odin.
So
If
it kind of is crummy.
yeah. Also, if Odin didn't have a heart attack, he probably could have pushed back harder on Loki's point of view.
Yeah, maybe turned him even more. Who knows?
Turned him evil even more, or at least was able to get out his point of view on that to the point where it could calm Loki down.
Yeah.
That's always the other end of the shtick, I suppose.
Yes, I do find it leaning convenient, but I think it's also a very good scene.
Oh, it's amazing. This right here is, I think, what cements Loki as typically everybody's favorite Phase 1 villain.
Yes, I had to think about it a little. He's my favorite Phase 1 villain.
Think he's mine as well.
I don't know. I think the guys that bully Cap in the alleyway might take it for me.
Okay, first off, it's a guy, not guys. Sounds like you need to rewatch the movie.
Maybe. But
sounds like that's going to come
What a
up
villain.
soon enough in our coverage.
I hope it's more than one guy, because that would be embarrassing for Sprinks.
Oh, it would be. Sprinks knowing something about that movie? Why would Sprinks know such a niche little thing about that movie when he hasn't said anything about these previous 4 movies? I asked myself the same question.
But
I don't know. Maybe we'll find out.
I would probably agree that I feel like this is the scene that cements Loki. Or, not only is Tom Hiddleston such a fantastic actor, but this is the scene that cements, usually is one of the things, is Loki being one of the best villain, because you get
Emotion?
you get the emotion, you get the sympathy, and you get to see the world through Loki's eyes, which is very integral to building up a good villain.
Yes. No offense to Jeff Bridges, but Obadiah Stane didn't have a lot of emotion. Emil Blonsky had like no emotion.
Hey, he had one
What
emotion.
guy
He
had
liked fighting.
emotions? With a box of scraps. Now that's emotion right there. But he never cried, if that's what you're talking about.
It's
Sure.
I think it's more of just the ability to see through the villain's eyes with a degree of sympathy, because it's
Ooh.
for
That goes on to the filmmaking.
yeah, not necessarily POV, but more like in this one, you get Loki's fall, more or less, is pulled from a place that a lot of people can understand, because everyone at some point in their lives will feel neglected or unloved by someone they know, someone they care about. It's just the way that life goes. No one is loved 100% of the time by everybody. So it's such a very, very base emotion to pull from and extrapolate to make your character from. That's why a lot of people can more or less put themselves into Loki's shoes, if not to be like wholly evil, but to at least pull from the sympathy of where he's drawing a lot of the emotions from.
Well, damn! Don't I wish Whiplash had something like this?
Hey, he might come back, okay?
He might.
They brought Blonsky back.
Anything.
They could absolutely
anything.
Hey, if they ever
brought
make that
Wolverine back from the dead.
Armor Wars movie or show, maybe he'll be in
they're not
that.
making that. They're not making that. That was shut
They're not
down.
making that?
No. What they are making is Secret Wars, and if a variant comes through, that'll be something.
Secret Wars. Yeah. Oof.
Or like, what is it? Omega Red? Is that his name? The
Yeah.
mutant?
Yeah, the
And
mutant.
gave him like whiplash arms? That'd be something.
Yeah, that would be something.
I feel like a lot of people would have problems with that.
Well, yes, combining the two characters.
Let's see. I don't know if it's a problem because it's an introduction, but Clint Barton almost grabbing a sniper rifle.
I'm on the same boat as you, actually. I wrote that down. I'm like, he went for a rifle at all?
I'm like, I don't think he would, since the bow is an option. It also really brings up the question of what the hell happened in Budapest.
Well, that's not established yet.
It's
So,
not.
Don't have an
I
issue
think
with it in this
it's
film.
fine.
It's not
Yeah,
not an issue. Not an issue in this film. He's like, okay, he prefers a bow to a sniper rifle. Interesting.
My only question is that the bow was in view. It wasn't him double thinking and he had to go get the bow.
I mean, you see him double thinking where he reaches for the sniper and then
thinks
changes his
better
mind.
of it. Yeah.
True, but it's directly in front. They're like,
And you can change your
Same
mind
eye
on
line.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with that.
There's not an issue with that in this film, so I don't.
okay.
No, that's like me having a pencil or a mechanical pencil, and I reach for the pencil. I'm like, you know what? I'm going for the mechanical. I don't see an issue with that.
Yet.
Yes. Why would I ever go for a mechanical pencil?
A scoff. Yeah.
Um,
Anyway, I just want like interesting. I get that's like before the name reveal or hidden in shadow situation, like they don't show the face. That it's played off of like, oh, it's just any other guy, and then it's like, oh, he grabbed a bow, and you know the fans going, oh, and that kind of moment.
I don't know if I ever had that
But-
moment, but
Oh,
Not-
it is Hawkeye.
yeah, I didn't know he was Hawkeye until the Avengers.
Oh, that's the difference between comics.
Yeah,
As soon as they said Barton, I went, oh, that's cool.
I was like, cool. The guy who's with Bo, his name is Barton. I don't see. That's pretty much all I thought. I'm like, okay, Barton's the guy with the bow, and then he comes back in Avengers. I'm like, oh yeah, this guy.
It would have been crazy if they called him Poindexter and he had a bow. That probably would have blown my mind.
Ditto. I have no idea.
You
I know
want
Crimson
to
would not
blow
be
your
happy
mind
with
even
it.
more? As if it were Deadshot.
Yeah,
That
that
would
be
be
a
impossible.
different universe.
Yeah,
That'd be
exactly.
a problem. That'd be a big problem. If they're like, hey, Lawton, get up there. A big problem.
It'd be real cool if it was Oliver Queen.
Still a problem.
He works for Argus,
Poindexter,
not
I'd be like,
Shield. All right.
Ooh.
Wasn't it Merida? I don't
Oh,
understand.
All right, now we're getting all over the place.
Katniss
Buckle up.
Everdeen.
Buckle up, Legolas.
Robin Hood.
No, not Robin Hood. Skippy, the rabbit from the cartoon Robin Hood.
Speedy.
Yeah. Just
Laura
anyone with a
Croft.
bow. Anyone with a bow.
With the bow. To kind of go a little bit more into that scene of the Shield facility, one of the issues I took, it's a mild one, mind you, but it's the I don't know his name, but the guy who's going to be a
Baldy.
Oh, for Hydra?
Sitwell. His name is Sitwell.
And
Yeah,
Doesn't sit well with me.
yeah, I know. I don't know.
But-
I don't know his full name, but I just know his last name is Sitwell. So, he's Baldy. He works at the facility. It's a bit of clunky dialogue where it's like, yeah, he's like redirect the flight like all the last ones. It's such a clunky line of dialogue that all you have to. My change to this would be to make it more natural. Is like, it's just have Sitwell walk up. So this is Sitwell walking up to the guy who's just like, he asks him to redirect a flight, kind of to show that this is a no-fly zone over this area because the hammer is causing issues. They also want to keep it a secret facility, yada yada. But the dialogue is kind of clunky. The thing to fix this scene is just have Sitwell walk up to him and said report, and he said just have the guy say same as last, sir, redirecting third flight of the hour. That's all you have to do to kind of
Yeah, I guess that would be more natural.
yeah, because it's very. It feels like he has to come over like every single flight is what the current dialogue makes it feel like. it gets the point across, but it could be done better.
Yes. I guess just for the tension of building up the scene, but the bigger goon that Thor fights, like the mud wrestling fight, I think is just to go with more of a Thor capable of doing things without, Mjolnir, the power and the worthiness and the lightning and all that. So just like fighting. The jump kick is pretty cool, but I think it's just to give like someone's actually kind of. So I think it's so like Thor isn't looking like he's just steamrolling all these shield agents to get what he wants. Being now he's a less powerful version. There's actually someone being in his way.
Yeah.
I think it's a good sense to add for balance, even though Coulson himself brings up like, how the heck did you do all that?
I get the idea. I think you nailed it with what their intent was, but I think that undercuts Thor because even though he doesn't have the power of the hammer, he is still Asgardian. He still has super strength. He still chucks people around. So I get they're trying to establish, oh, he's weaker without the hammer. I still think he should mop the floor with all the humans.
He should.
This
This really
guy's
plays off
slightly
like
bulkier than the others.
but this really plays off like he doesn't have super strength
Yeah.
without the hammer.
That's kind of the weird things is like the Allfather says he takes from him his power, but that doesn't necessarily change his DNA. So I feel like he would wipe the floor with all these people, but it wouldn't be that much of a
Yeah, when he's not holding the hammer, he doesn't turn into like kryptonited Superman.
Yeah, like if with this, it kind of feels it's inconsistent with the portrayal of Thor, because Thor doesn't, his power doesn't, the DNA of the creature that he is doesn't come from the hammer.
True.
So that's kind of, it's inconsistent with Thor overall as what he's supposed to be.
They gave an issue to the power scaling.
They treat him as a human when he's not a human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think that's
they would need to make that
and
more
he wasn't
explicit.
cursed that way.
Yeah, they need to make it more explicit that he was turned into a human, like a mortal, by Odin. When banishing him.
Yes. Because that even plays worse that a taser knocked him out.
Yeah. So, because they didn't establish that, then I do feel this one guy being able to actually stand toe-to-toe with him is a bit of an issue.
Yeah. The best to work with is the banishment did give him the strength of a mortal of Midgard, but it's not exactly stated.
That's reading into it. Yeah.
It is. That's just the power of Odin that could have been, and it would pass everything else because then it explains his strength. But without it, and he is Asgardian, the hammer didn't change that at all.
Yeah.
Then he's pulling his punches, and that's not Thor.
No, that's not Thor.
Not yet, because Thor would pull his punches once he goes on his character arc.
Yeah. Revise. That's not this Thor.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure I'd feel much for these Hydra agents. I mean, Shield agents.
I mean, widows. I mean, 10 ring members.
I mean, AIM. I mean, the list goes on and fucking on. Well, I just know Sitwell is confirmed to be Hydra. That's pretty much all I know out of this facility.
Damage control.
Everything.
I'm like, I know I'm forgetting one.
Insane.
I do like the swing from triumphant music right into despair when Thor is like feeling elated that he gets to the hammer, and then it swings right back into it doesn't respond to him.
Yeah,
good
shit.
shit.
Brought it up earlier. It's good. It's good. And then he falls into a depression that he can't do it, and then he's screaming in the slow-mo in the rain, and it's good.
Good shit.
Even with Coulson being in real time and then the rain being in slow-mo on Thor because it's his character moment and not Coulson's. Good.
Good stuff. I also like Barton's banter. Just like, you better give me the call, Coulson, because I'm starting to root for this guy.
I'm rooting for this guy. Yeah. I think.
And then what if he kills him?
Yeah. I think this one and I think the introduction of Hawkeye and Black Widow in the previous film are pretty solid character introductions to characters that don't get their own movies yet. Um,
Well, hang
Pretty good.
on now. Hawkeye still hasn't had a movie.
He has got a show.
Yeah. Which one could
Arguably,
argue is
he has a
better than the
show.
Black Widow movie.
Someone else, it's kind of, yes, some could argue that. But I think it's a solid introduction. He's not really a complex character yet or anything, but they establish him as being likable right out the gate. I mean, at least for me.
He's not quite a character in this. He's definitely just a cameo, but I do like his introduction. Pretty solid.
I agree. It is a cameo. And recognizable to some of that's Jeremy Renner. Why'd they get Jeremy Renner for such a small role?
Yeah, I mean, I recognize Jeremy Renner. I just didn't understand that it was supposed to be a hero.
I loved him in Born Legacy. Actually, I think that came out after this.
Born Legacy. Was Ghost Protocol before this? This is the third time I brought up Ghost Protocol. I didn't think I'd be paralleling it this much.
I
don't know.
I think Ghost Protocol might be before this. Let me see. I'll look it up.
I'll look up Born Legacy.
Oh, Ghost Protocol was also 2011.
Oh. I'm like, what is Jeremy Renner's breakout role? His most memorable one is probably Hawkeye. But I could say that about anyone in the MCU.
Born Legacy was 2012.
Thor came out before Ghost Protocol.
Okay.
They came out in the same year, but Thor came out 7 months prior. Yeah.
So. Wow, that'd be stink. Someone's watching Ghost Protocol and they'd be like, wasn't that the guy with the bow and arrow in Thor?
Someone definitely in this world did do that.
Someone totally did that.
I do.
Host card writer.
Okay, so I do quite like the SHIELD agents come and just collect Jane's stuff. I'm not entirely sure how they found them, but I can buy SHIELD had enough tech and wherewithal to find it because they find all their stuff being stolen and taken after they part ways with Thor, right, in the town.
Yes. If they're also emitting any kind of signals from their van to track weather things that could be picked up by SHIELD or email sent up because any communication has to go through, or much like how they caught Banner between Mr. Blue because that's been established in the world of technology they possess with SHIELD, they could have caught him different ways.
It was pretty amusing, Jane saying, all my resources
either
on the
in
computers
this,
and in this book.
and then just Coulson just gives a nod, and it's pretty funny.
Take book.
Takes it.
It's kind of
that was pretty funny.
It's kind of interesting to see Coulson in this because Coulson gets going from Iron Man to Iron Man 2 to this. I think this is probably his most antagonistic role.
It's his most stern. He's not very comedic. At least in the first half of this, he's not very comedic. Well,
does it feel like
more seen as an ally? Then I guess he loosens up a bit more.
You could pose it a little that he's been working with Nick Fury under his authority, but Nick Fury comes in and he failed to monitor Tony Stark in his house in Iron Man 2 as a failed mission, and he's been now tasked to come to New Mexico. So he's kind of taken more of an authoritarian motive and play to be a little more antagonistic to do better by his failure. And he's also somewhere very farther remote from Nick Fury that Nick Fury's not going to come out and assist.
Yeah, he's clearly the one running this operation.
Yeah, so that could change a whole lot of his character, which has previous work. So I think it fits.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think he's out of character.
It kind of feels like reading into it a little bit, but
well, that's what I do.
Oh yeah, but it's not completely divorced to be impossible.
Yeah, I don't see this as a completely different character from who we've seen on screen before.
I agree. No, this is still Coulson.
Just like it was not Tony in Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, that one's still.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
him in quotes, but it's because the dialogue's a bit off. The interaction.
As
Tony
Ryder
Ross.
brought up, because the consultant, it takes place after Iron Man 2, it does help a little more. But
Just a little.
yeah, he's a little more mature at the end of Iron Man 2 than he is at the end of Iron Man 1. And it's been a 6-month time. We're talking about Iron Man 2. We did that last week. Back to Thor. The paragraphs in the book Selvig picks up about Mjolnir and Loki and everything in the book.
Yeah.
Minya. I read both paragraphs there. They're written normally. They're not gibberish.
Cool. I'm always happy to see stuff like that.
And it is 3 paragraphs. The first one's in English, second one's Nordic, third one I couldn't make out. But it's in 3 different languages.
Yeah, I mean, I think I touched on it. One of my favorite aspects of that scene is Stellan Skarsgård's acting, because he kind of complains about Thor, might be insane because he grew up on those stories as a kid. But this is the scene that shows that, through the acting.
Yes.
One of the 2 quick bits, because they're all surrounding Thor's breaking into the S.H.I.E.L.D. facility. I like Jane calling Dr. Selvig saying, "Hi, it's me. I did exactly what you told me not to do." It's just her calling and kind of apologizing to Dr. Selvig, which is awesome and funny with how it comes off. How she was able to get back to town, I have no fucking clue, because I don't think the S.H.I.E.L.D. agency would... I don't think they would let him drive away. Just gonna say that right now.
But she ran off on foot
50 miles
night.
back to town.
during a storm.
Yeah, no. Speaking about things about being where they shouldn't be, I'll jump ahead a little. Thor takes Jane to go to the Bifrost so he can get back to Asgard, and he flies her there. And he's calling for Heimdall, and he turns around, and lo and behold, the other 6 people are there with the van.
At least that's not 50 miles away. That's like within sight of the town.
Yeah, but they just pop up.
Yeah, that's true. They do just teleport. That doesn't fix the problem, but I'm just like, at least it's not as bad as it could have been.
It's not 50 miles, but it's still not close.
Yeah.
And that shows the van goes pretty much just as fast as Thor can fly.
Well, it's a Stark car.
No.
Yeah.
I can shut that down. Good attempt.
I will say when the Warriors 3 and Sif go to plead to the Allfather for Thor's return and find Loki sitting on the throne, Loki is not very smart in this scene. Which is kind of contradictory to a lot of what other elements going on with his character. He should know that there is a backup plan for Thor, because Odin threw in the hammer after him, and Loki would have seen that. So he should know that there is a plan for Thor, even if he doesn't put it together. So I take issue with both this scene not really calming the fears of his friends, because they're suspicious enough to act against him. Yeah, and then obviously he needs the confirmation from Freya to know that something is wrong. But he was there for that scene when Odin threw the hammer in after Thor.
Yes, he was there to visually see it. He was not there to audibly hear it. Because Odin whispered into the hammer, whoever should be worthy. But I don't know if that fully tells Loki that it's going to Midgard. Or it's a backup for Thor.
Yeah, he has no assumption otherwise, though. Like, the Bifrost didn't change. Because the hammer is thrown into the Bifrost after Thor.
It is, but it doesn't land with the use of Bifrost.
Yeah, that's just a visual inconsistency.
Okay, that's where you landed on. Okay.
Yeah, no, despite my long elaborate bullshit explanation, that is actually where I land on it. It's just a visual inconsistency.
Okay, then sure. Treating Mjolnir like it's a Green Lantern ring.
Kinda. I feel like he should use, because he knows Thor's banishment is temporary, or at least he should have the presumption that it's temporary given all the available evidence he does have. he should use that story of it being a temporary banishment to placate the Warriors 3 and Sif while he accumulates more power on the throne. Because obviously the cue for us here as the audience is that Loki's a bad guy, but Loki's supposed to be intelligent, and I think he would be knowledgeable enough to know that his friends are growing suspicious of him and he needs to be wary of them.
He's certainly picking up that
He-
Sif is onto him.
Yes. He might be in
Yeah,
a.
she clocked him quick.
I'm curious if he thinks he's in a sense that he has so much power above them that they couldn't do anything to change anything.
See, that goes into the arrogance territory, and I'm not sure Loki's developed arrogance yet.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I feel like his talk with Heimdall when he returned kind of cloaked in arrogance there.
That would be cloaked in arrogance. But like I said, he's enacting his plan at that point. He doesn't have. He's just sitting on the throne doing nothing here. Essentially, he's playing acting king, right? But he knows that his plan is ruined if Thor gets back. So I don't. Again, this is just. It's hard to track the intelligence of Loki sometimes. Because if I'm going to treat him as intelligent as the movie thinks he is with his backup plans, I then have an issue with his intelligence in this scene because he's at least aware that Sif has clocked him, which should be enough for him to realize that he needs to work on placating his friends before they act irrationally and do something like go to Earth to try and rescue Thor.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely what they would do, and they do.
Yeah.
But
Mama.
Yeah, you know what? I see where you're coming from. I think, unfortunately, I'd have to just give it another watch to see through that lens
that's fair enough.
because I don't think I picked it up on it.
It's definitely one of those layered lenses. Because it's an inconsistency that crops up with multiple rewatches for sure. It's definitely like a hard take to have on it because when you look at Loki as an overall character, you're trying to kind of figure out the points at which he knows his plan, where he's being his smartest, and what part of he is being a lie. And I'm fine with him being fallible, but this one seems like too obvious for him not to notice. Because Sif blatantly gives him a dirty look.
Yes.
I mean, he does put in the effort of telling Heimdall not to let anyone use the Bifrost. So he does cover himself a little bit of any like dissent.
That's true, but he would know that the Warriors 3 and Sif would find their way around that at some point. If they are as determined to rescue Thor as he should recognize they are, because this is the second time they're having that conversation, only this time they were intending to take the issue all the way to their king, which happens to be him at this point. Because they were there to talk to Odin about it, which indicates how strongly they feel.
Yes. That all makes sense. Crimson, let's go to you for a net point.
Sure. I think I will jump to Jane and Thor's like one-on-one campfire scene. To steal it from Ritter.
The literal
I think that's
campfire
roughly
scene.
where we are.
The literal campfire scene.
Yes, the literal campfire scene. I think it is a bit exposition heavy, but they do set the groundwork to where it makes sense for the characters to exposit it all. Like your science and magic is one and the same type deal. Explain the bridge, the realms. Pretty heavy, maybe a little on the slow side, but I do think it's decently.
Yeah, I got nothing more to add to that. It's a good scene. I don't know. I mean, my favorite scene comes right before this, but yeah, I quite enjoy it.
Yeah, I think Natalie Portman did a good job, pretty much in this film, but particularly here and in like her living quarters. being the nervous Nelly around him.
Yeah, the
taking an
bit where
interest.
she puts something away in the wrong spot. That one. That's such a like
Yeah, the bowl of
tiny.
cereal in the cupboard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
such a tiny like funny thing that just makes it feel more real and human. I guess would be the way to phrase it.
Yes. Was it this movie Natalie Portman hated doing, or was it Dark World?
I think it was Dark World.
I think a lot of people didn't like
Okay.
doing Dark World.
I can't remember if it was a contract thing, which is why they had to reuse footage for Endgame.
I think it was contract, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm sure we'll find out whenever we get to that.
That's true. Let's then go to Ryder.
Neat detail is as Thor is breaking down, we can see you get an overhead shot of the shield, the makeshift shield facility, kind of looking like the square white box. But when we cut away from Thor failing to pull the hammer out to Heimdall, we can see the shield like makeshift box building in Heimdall's eyes, which is a neat detail for the reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice to see Heimdall watching over him.
Yeah. Because they would be close friends. As Heimdall seems pretty close with everybody.
They've known each other for 1,000 years.
At least.
Possibly.
I know this wouldn't be the thing on to Crimson. And it's not big necessarily for me, and I don't know how big it is for you, Ryder, but I can definitely tell people out there watching this bit in the movie would be upset about. Does it upset you at all, Ryder, that they poured the shots to make the Boilermaker rather than dropping them in?
It kind of depends, because okay, in this instance, I would lean towards it being a slightly bit more of a problem, because it's implied that Stellan Skarsgård has a history, like he himself has an ancestry with the Norse mythology. It's kind
He's
of
also being celebratory to Thor being a good person and agreeing to leave.
Yeah, so I feel like they would have been dropped in.
Based off of all the media I've seen, they should have dropped it in.
Yeah. So I
Thank you,
think
Crimson.
yeah, so I'm kind of leaning it to being slightly more of a problem, especially later, because one of the bits I like is it's a subtle thing that happens in this film, but there's an implication that Dr. Erik Selvig does have, like, his ancestry is with, he does have a Norse Viking ancestry. So it kind of adds on more layers to Thor's compliment, like, we drank, we fought, he made his ancestors proud. And the other layers of Erik accepting Thor, saying, I still don't believe you're the god of thunder, but you ought to be, because he got respect for Thor. So there's a lot of that goes on in the film on a more subtle side for Dr. Erik Selvig for me that I like. And I think because of that, I would lean towards the Boilermakers. I would prefer them to be dropped in. It's more accurate to who the characters are.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Sorry, you got a long-winded explanation for that, but that's
okay. I just know some people would be very upset about that scene.
Alcohol.
Yeah. Alcohol.
You are correct, Crimson. That is alcohol.
Hey, do I get a gold star?
I also can see it as Thor doesn't know what a Boilermaker is.
Yeah, I don't think, maybe Thor wouldn't know, but I think Erik Selvig would know.
But it should also be lead by example. And if Selvig is saying, pour the shot in. So I don't know. It also wasn't, I think it aids to the scene because it is slow, and Selvig doesn't really expect, I think, it to be a one full take drink, even though that's Thor's MO. So I think the pour in is a good, like, kind of sip more so drink than the excitement of dropping it in the foam and the chasing it down.
Yeah.
So I think the off-screen third Boilermaker they get ordered is dropped in.
Yes, because the party for them starts after the first one.
Yeah.
And
too bad Selvig didn't get any of that Age of Ultron elixir or whatever Thor brought to the party.
It's true.
Come out.
Starring Omaha Beach Blondie. Pass that over.
Yeah. Excelsior.
I do like this scene with Selvig because Thor in this instance is he thinks his father's dead. He's kind of searching for his new meaning in life. And I like that Erik Selvig kind of gives him a base foundation, you know.
Yes. Also gives Selvig a more protective angle over Jane and why he's staying with her,
Yeah.
and the connection to his to Jane's father and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's adds a lot more layers onto this side character. And I do think that's kind of what the MCU does at its best is it makes the world feel really lived in. So adding in little bits here with Erik Selvig helps make Jane feel like a more real character. Same with Darcy. Like, why is Erik Selvig here? You get bits of that in this scene. You get an explicit reason as to why, and a lot of that is kind of helps make the world feel much more fleshed out. And that's one of the draws to love about the MCU is these side characters that help make the main characters feel like they've lived whole lives, up until the point of the film.
Yeah. I think I had some. Crimson, you brought up the fireplace or the fire scene with Jane and Thor. It is convenient that Jane's notebook had the planets lined up so Yggdrasil could be drawn. I don't know if it necessarily means, though, that that's not the actual formation of Yggdrasil, of where those planets are lined, and just a visual aid that Thor's drawing to look like a tree.
I mean, it would be in visual aid, I would imagine, because I mean, it's a 2D representation of a 3D space, right? So maybe it would look different
Maybe.
in different light, so to speak.
Maybe. My little nitpick with the scene is the line used of Thor being like, "Oh, I'll explain to you the 9 realms," and he starts listing them off. He only names 5 of them, and it's not a cut-off conversation bit because he says 4 of them, and he says, "and 1 more," ending the sentence. So he only lists 5 of the 9. I don't know why he excludes 4 of them.
The first thing I think of is to save on runtime.
Well, yes,
But
but
then
I
you're
think
saying you're
easily
going to
do that.
describe
Just
everything. Yeah.
I think it's still fine. Have those 5 if those are the only 5 that you're allowed to say or anything. But on the third one, then drown out the audio to lower out so it fades. So it's like, yeah, he actually did talk to her about all of them.
Yeah. Well,
I agree.
the sentence fades out to Asgard, and he pauses to say that's where he's from, right?
No, it goes to the night sky, and he says, "and the 5th location," end of sentence, and then it goes to the next scene.
I thought his last words were, "and that's where I come from." So I
Was
thought the last,
Asgard the 5th one, he says?
yeah. So I feel like he's pausing to explain Asgard a little bit to her, which I think is totally fine in the natural course of conversation because he would know the most about Asgard being a resident. I could be remembering the dialogue wrong, but that's
Nope,
just
you're right.
how I. Okay.
You're right. The 5th one is "and Asgard, that's where I come from," and it shows like the moon. That's
Yeah.
the end. But to me, that's still only playing off that he only listed 5. Asgard could have been the 9th one he says, and then does that line. But if it's too long,
Yeah. He
then
might.
fade out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the reason the pause on Asgard is obviously for the assumption that he's going to explain Asgard because that's just the one he knows the most about.
Then I think I would have liked it more if he started with Asgard. He's like, first there's Asgard. That's where I come from. That's where my father Odin, and then that trails off.
I mean, it could also be, this is reading into it, but like how he was taught about the 9 realms, that there's like a particular order to them. Kind of like our solar system has an order, right? So maybe he's just listing off the realms.
Maybe.
That would make sense to me.
I don't know about that. I can see how that makes sense to line up, but I don't know if Yggdrasil lines up that way with the realms. Unlike our planets, that's actually like a line of what planets in what order. I don't know. That's just information I don't hold. So, but with that, let's go to writer.
Alrighty. kind of hinted at one of my favorite scenes with Erik Selvig, but I like it when he comes to get Thor out of the Shield facility. I like that Shield is on to the fact that it's a fake story, but Coulson would rather let him go to see if they can get any more information out of it. So you get to see Coulson with his Shield, one being shown to be competent, and two, with at least their information gathering skills. But also you get to see Coulson taking some initiative to think that they're letting him go with the presumption that they're going to keep a close eye on them. And we do, because they have Watchmen permanently posted outside after this.
Yes.
I'll say competent with air quotes or asterisks. That's that. Because when Thor breaches and reaches the hammer, he's like, "No, hold on, I want to see what happens." What if Thor touching it created like a nuclear explosion, or he flew away like he expected to? Coulson has no idea what's going to happen. That's kind of a big risk, I think.
In that instance, yes. I think Coulson has reason to believe it's not going to be a nuke, but
I don't know. It's a artifact from space.
Yeah, but the stuff that makes a nuke is scientifically related. Unless it's giving off like the fact that radiation particles are colliding in order to show that it would detonate into a nuke, I think he has reason to believe that's not going to happen. It would give off strange readings. I'm totally fine with that, but that one's a bit of a jump.
That was a random thing of like, we don't know what it could be. Like, you wouldn't guess, oh, that hammer shoots lightning. You wouldn't be able to really guess that.
No, I mean, unless I see the Nordic symbol, no, I would not be able to guess that. And the Nordic symbol doesn't show up until Thor proves he's worthy. So,
not
no.
true.
It shows up when Thor looks at it and is sad.
It mocks him when he's not worthy.
It does.
Oh, yeah, okay. Never mind then. I'm thinking of something else.
It doesn't show if it appears when Loki tries, because the angle's too low.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I kind of with Crimson, they don't know what it is. You could probably look it up. I'm sure Shield is smart enough to be like, that looks similar to Mjolnir or whatever, and connect it that way, but it kind of falls onto Shield kind of going with like no connection to Norse mythology.
Yeah. The idea is that it's just giving off some really strange readings, and that's why they're there, right?
Strange reading, and there's a crater showing it came from the sky.
Yeah.
And it can't be moved, so there's a lot of
spatial
mystery involved.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what drew the Shield agency here in the first place?
Probably the truckers.
The attention it got out of it, news spread.
Maybe some sort of readings they got from the area.
Maybe.
It says it's given off some sort of weird interference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel
past information is showing like the Bifrost being used, so weird weather readings and whatnot.
Yeah, I guess if I have
energy signatures that Jane's picking up, so
I'll agree more with you, Crimson, if we had more onto how they were here to find it in the first place, because I can infer all that, but like a bunch of truckers in the desert trying to bring out a hammer in a crater, to me that doesn't sound like insanity unless like they're getting readings of it being more strange. I think getting something more reasoning behind Shield being here in the first place might pull me over a bit further into the unknown aspect of there. I guess Coulson allowing the unknown to take place in a...
I mean, that would be a welcome addition, just to hear a reason, yeah.
Okay. Just pondering that over. Let's go to me for a point. Haha, got you. Let's see. When Heimdall, when Civ and the Warriors 3 come up to Heimdall and say, "Hey, can we use the Bifrost?" And he goes, "I can't go against the king."
Well, he summons
so
them.
We're not gonna... Well, yes, he summons them to get there, and he goes, "Can't go against the king," and starts walking away. It's like, "I'm not going to help you," and still helps him. What causes the delay of the Bifrost to open?
That was going to be my next talking point. Was
The hammer is just slowly
is he still
sliding inside.
controlling the sword? I
I don't think so. I don't think he can remotely control it.
don't know. We don't really get a limit to Heimdall's abilities here, and we had that talk about his sight, but his connection to the sword and stuff too. We don't really fully
Is it a
understand
special
it.
sword? Is it bounded to him?
I mean, that gets into what I'm saying. Well, we don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just
We
thought it
know
was.
it worked independently when he walked away, but that seems stranger to me than him controlling it.
Yeah. I just think it's something that can activate the Bifrost, much like Loki's staff. That's not the sword, but can still activate the
That's
Bifrost.
Odin's staff.
Oh, Odin's staff. My mistake. Odin's staff.
So I personally feel it was not Odin, Heimdall remotely doing it, but because he was hands off, it wasn't him. But I mean, I can definitely see it. Just they slowly fell on its own accord, I guess.
That's would be the lame explanation, but it unfortunately I guess fits.
I think I go with the lame explanation.
I mean, that would make more sense than him remotely controlling it because Gungnir doesn't work like Mjolnir. I don't see any. I don't. It feels like Mjolnir is kind of unique in that sense, and I don't think Heimdall's sword acts like Mjolnir in the sense of he can control it from a distance.
Not to my knowledge, no. And it's not shown either in this movie or any of 3 other movies.
Yeah, I know Gungnir gets some extra powers, but I'm not quite sure. I don't quite remember what they are. And for those who are confused, Gungnir is Odin's spear.
Yeah, we learned that in Atlantis too. We're picking it up. That was a joke. I didn't mean to sound
What a
mean.
reference!
I'm just saying we've covered Atlantis too in the past. That had Odin's spear.
Oh yes, it did. It had Odin in it.
I don't know about that.
I didn't see
A
Anthony Hopkins.
self-proclaimed Odin.
It had someone thinking they were Odin. So, with that, let's then go to Crimson. Sorry, I stole your point.
All right. No, it's fine. My next point's pretty much the same spot too. We see Loki just standing there watching as it activates. Like he was just watching it the whole time.
It's supposed
Yes.
to. It's a movie moment. I have no defense to
100%.
that. It's just a movie moment to indicate, oh no, Loki's onto them. Whatever will he
Then
do?
he turns around and looks upset. And it's like, yeah, all right.
Good Tom
I would have
Hiddleston
liked more
acting.
of a natural way for him to come across it, like he's sitting on the throne eating grapes or something, and then he hears it activate. There's something more natural than he was just standing
Oh,
watching the
that would be
entire
funny.
time.
Yeah, overlooking seeing it go off. Gotcha. I was trying to piece where this was. Yeah. He's just on
Yeah.
a balcony seeing it.
He's just watching it.
You're right. Let's go to writer.
Let's see. I guess I'll go to the Warriors 3 and Sif going to Earth. I quite like the Shield agents' response. They still may report it in because it's
Strange.
but I do like they list off a bunch of references. It's kind of neat because it's human. It's what they would do. Just in the way that I like Thor is Dr. Erik Selvig in the middle of denying that Thor is really the god of thunder, and then the Warriors 3 show up with Sif and he drops his mug. Funny stuff.
Hi, Thor.
I don't. The only odd thing about this scene is I'm not sure what convinces Erik Selvig that they aren't just playing dress up and they're all Thor's real life friends, because he flips immediately going, I don't believe it. You know?
He just feels their presence, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's all I got. Because obviously once he sees Thor like shoot lightning from the sky and stuff like that, you know, he's convinced at that point. But
Yeah.
good. But it's a nice comedy beat, and again, the actors do a good job of playing it all off.
Yeah. I think it's a detail I caught, because how it is when the destroyer arrives, it doesn't leave a Bifrost mark on the ground because it's not using the Bifrost to get there to
Wait,
Midgard.
say that again?
Maybe.
When the destroyer arrives, there is no pattern in the ground upon its arrival, which indicates to me it didn't use the Bifrost to get here to Midgard. But then that poses, how did it get here?
Maybe Loki used his portal thing.
Could
Yeah,
be,
maybe he
because
used
Loki sent it.
the casket or whatever. What was the name of it? Is it
It's the
actually a
casket.
It's just
casket?
called the
Yeah, it's a
casket.
casket.
Yes.
Name. I can't stand it. It's not a casket. Okay. Yeah, maybe he used the casket to send them.
Could be.
Because at
We
this
line
point
up
he
that
has
it's-
it in his possession.
Yeah, Jotunheim's device of a Bifrost calling. But then again, that's still calls upon the Bifrost. It had to be. It's got to be some other use. Unless it's not the Bifrost it uses, then I don't know.
Something like the Bifrost.
Yeah, light speed.
Which is a very inefficient way to travel across the universe, but okay.
Wormholes.
Anywho, that's just something I caught. It's a very quick scene of showing the destroyer's feet on the ground, but there's nothing in the ground on the ground. So
And I liked Coulson's reaction to it. It's like, oh, it's another Stark toy or whatever.
No, that's Sitwell's. He's like, is that Stark's? And Coulson's response, I don't know. Guy never tells me anything.
Yeah, no, it tells me anything.
Which I like that because it makes the world feel interconnected. Again, don't have any issues yet with like world building where characters should be showing up to other people's movies just based on what's going on in their film. Not yet, because that those take place after the team is formed.
I know it's small and very short, but it is present to show a town evacuation scene.
My God,
I'll just give kudos to that. If anyone's curious why, there are certain movies that don't do that, and I find it a big damn problem.
I couldn't agree more.
No, I want my heroes not to care about civilians.
Ugh.
No, isn't it so hard to make your heroes want to
Edgy.
save people? It's so nice.
Big emphasis on the word hero there, huh?
Hero. There you
I
go.
don't
You
know
got
if
what you
you're
wanted.
Well, not exactly what I wanted. I was just saying that hero might not be the right word for the context you're given said hero.
It's what I'm thinking of is some 14-year-old's definition of mature. So
What I'm thinking of is there was 2 General Zods fighting around in that metropolis.
it certainly feels like it.
Anywho, yeah, just a nice little detail. Let's go to Crimson.
Well, we'll talk about the Destroyer, I guess. Very cool design, very threatening. Back on the topic of the Destroyer, I think it's pretty cool in the design department and how menacing it feels. Kind of begs the question to me.
I was gonna say you thought the casket was a dumb name, but the Destroyer isn't.
Yeah, because I think the Destroyer is kind of on brand with what it's depicting. Meanwhile, the casket doesn't look like a casket.
Okay, could just be a translational thing, but sure.
Sure, I'm not going to assume that though. But with the Destroyer, it begs the question to me why it seems to be uniquely only one. Why wouldn't Odin have more of these? And where was it during the war? Because he could have just sent all of them to Jotunheim and melted all. It just seems like a pretty strong thing because it kind of just tanks all the damage that, like, getting stabbed and whatnot.
Don't know. I'll land with that. I don't know. It's not like the army of Sentinels in Days of Future Past, but it's not like Sauron at the beginning of Lord of the Rings. It's just I don't know. I don't know why there's only one.
I don't understand Asgardian technology. It's magic because I don't understand the
They have
science.
technology.
No.
Yeah.
They excuse that. So
yeah, I do like my favorite bit with the destroyer is when it kind of like inverts itself to face Sif.
Yeah, when she stabs in the back and then turns into his torso
Yeah.
or chest. Yeah, that is nice.
And there's a bit of a subversion with, I mean, it's not like a subtle subversion, but with Thor pleading for his life to Loki
Yeah,
Yes.
assuming Loki
and to
Loki's
spare the
listening
town.
in.
Yeah.
I did like that. The standing up and self-sacrifice, I guess.
Yeah.
But what I didn't like is the backhand is fine. You know, not blasting Thor with a heat wave, but backhanding him. Upon him landing, I totally cool and fine. His whole face is beat up and scratched. I don't get why there's 2 big gashes on his chest.
My only interpretation as to how he got that is just impact against the ground, because he hits the ground a few times before he rolls to a stop. That's kind of the only place I can assume that he got it from.
doesn't-
I don't know. I was leaning that it didn't make sense.
Well, it's
Because they look
forearms
very-
are spiked, right? And that kind of hit him on the upper chest.
Oh, you think it's scratched across his chest upon
That
hitting him?
is
That's what I think.
definitely possible. There's a couple angles as to how he could have gotten it.
But I guess on that topic, Thor died. Cool. What a movie. Roll credits.
So the big question is what makes Thor worthy? Is it self-sacrifice?
That's the best I got. Standing up for his friends.
Yeah, that's probably the takeaway. Or nearly dying makes you worthy.
Yeah, my
Bleeding
best,
makes you worthy.
my best faith interpretation is it's not only is it a self-sacrifice, he made sure to evacuate the town, which is a microcosm of what happens later on in his story when he needs to evacuate Asgard. But it's that coupled with this self-sacrifice that I think Thor has learned to keep his priorities in order. Like his priorities aren't war. His priority is caring for people, and I guess that's for me. That's what makes him worthy of the hammer. And he was willing to die for those convictions.
Yeah. There's kind of a weird thing with how they portray events here, because you're led to believe like Odin put like an enchantment on the hammer to where it's like the hammer's choice of whether Thor is worthy. But we get a scene of like Odin crying or getting a tear in his coma, and then the hammer starts to spike and then shoot off. So, in one hand, the hammer is acting on its own because Thor met the criteria, but on the other, it kind of looks like Odin kind of granted it to go at the same time.
It is possible that Odin was observing, and that's kind of because he could only like focus on so much while stuck in his coma. He just chose to focus on Thor, the person he'd be worried the most about, because he threw him into the world. It could be Odin granting him access back to the hammer as well, just by knowing how much his son was willing to give up now, to know that it wasn't like a fake conviction in an attempt to come back. So there could be that element to it, though I think I lean more towards it being Odin's spell and Odin just happened to be observing.
What I'm leaning, I'd want it to be, but I think I'm kind of down to it's just the way they edited it kind of looks like they opened up an option that doesn't need to be present.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sprinks?
I don't know. Mixed.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is mixed.
I'm undecisive. I know.
It's never happened. He's never been 50-50 before.
Oh, well, that's not true. That's not true. Don't lie to them.
Yeah. Once again, the Warriors 3 plus Sif, relatively useless compared to Thor. When trying to keep back the Destroyer, they like try one thing and then they're screwed over.
They chuck Volstagg right at him and he fails. And they're like, all right, out of ideas.
Well, I mean
don't know.
that was a distraction for Sif, but once that happens, then they're truly out of fucking ideas.
Yeah.
What are they gonna do? They just have freaking maces and swords.
By the way, I just pulled it up to double check. The Thor scratches, they magically appear on his chest upon his final
Landing.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
movement.
Yeah, they're not there when he's flying through the air.
No. So
You got me for continuity error, but I think there's
Nitpick.
plenty of explanations to why they have those there.
Okay, I fall on nitpick.
Yeah, it's a nitpick. They're not. It's not. It's not. They're not. They don't sustain the continuity for it. So.
No. What did I have? Something. I do like the funny little line of "son of coal." I think that's clever.
Yeah. Thor just being polite in his own way.
Yes. This is what I wanted. Yeah. Freya, the mom, defending Odin, and Loki and the Frost Giants come into his chamber to kill him. She's a witch with probably more powerful magic than Loki at this point.
Yeah, pretty lame.
Why does she resort to a sword?
Yeah, it's really fucking lame.
Yeah, I wonder if they utilize her powers in a later film or something.
Yeah. I really don't like that she went to a sword.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's a problem that future movies will introduce. Here, it's totally fine. We don't know that Loki's learned his powers from his mom yet.
Oh, I thought you said she did say that. Never mind that.
I know this is Freya.
Yeah, I mean, mythology-wise, we know Freya is a witch and has lots of powers, but within the context of this movie, we do not know that.
Makes her very weak.
Yeah, so her grabbing a sword to defend her husband, totally fine with that. She clearly doesn't have any other powers yet.
Actually, that
As
just
if
makes,
this
yeah. No, that makes the MCU Freya weak.
Oh yeah,
This Freya, later Freya is stronger.
Yeah, MCU Freya gets better, but this first movie's Freya, she's not even a character. I'm gonna be honest.
No one even calls her name. She just
She's
okay.
just,
I'm like, does she have a line? Yeah, she has a line.
Mom.
she has a couple lines, but they're expositionary based. They're nothing character related to her.
Before you ask, is she removable? I'm gonna say no.
I wouldn't ask that.
Just check.
She carries too much weight on the cast.
We can probably remove Jackie Chan from the Warriors 3. I think he's the most removable.
No.
I think he's removable from the MCU as a whole. None of his lines really carry any weight. The most he ever does is suggest Loki's strong enough for an illusion.
In the MCU as a whole,
Warriors.
In the MCU as a whole, the most important thing he ever does is step up to Hela in front of all the Asgardians in Ragnarok.
And that doesn't mean
whoever you are, whatever you've done, surrender now.
That means nothing.
Yeah, that is the most he contributes to the story.
So yeah, I would say he's completely removable. It's a total character. A character in quotations. In the loosest terms.
Cool. I don't know how Odin, from his coma chamber, got to the bridge so fast.
He teleported because he's Odin.
Oh, new power. Teleportation.
I feel like Odin can fly, but I don't think we see that at any point in the films.
No,
Can he fly on his own doing, or would he need his staff?
It doesn't matter. We don't see him fly.
It doesn't matter.
No, I'm just saying if it's like Mjolnir, Loki has the staff in his hold.
Yeah. Another note on the Odin being dead thing. If Loki turned up like a second later, Odin would be dead and his plan would backfire. Because he doesn't want Luffy to kill Odin, I think. Or maybe he did expect Luffy not to gloat and expected Odin to be dead. And he unintentionally saved Odin, which I don't fucking understand what Loki's goal was at this point, other than to kill
But then that
Laufey.
goes contrary to proving himself to his dad. Then, if his
I think
dad's dead.
Loki could have done both. Either way, he could have worked with it.
Okay, I mean, I guess I feel like he does love his father, so it's a little weird that he lets this go on for as long as it does, because he's really counting on Luffy to just gloat long enough for him to get there and kill him with the staff of Gungnir. Because with the ending, I have to, again, Loki could be lying. I have to add the caveat. But with him saying, I could have done it, father, he's clearly just wants his father's love and affection. I would assume that's his goal.
That looks pretty legit.
Yeah.
And we don't have anything contrary to believing that. Even in later films, it's not like that gets contradicted.
Yeah.
No, Loki goes with Thor in any direction to go find Odin. In Ragnarok, in Dark World.
30 minutes.
Yeah. No, Odin's important to Loki.
Yeah.
How important? It can't really measure, but
yeah, I know his mom matters more to him, but because again, this is kind of one of those things where I do wish we had a bit more as far as their child is concerned to know how much Loki values Odin, because I get he's a villain, right? But he's with stuff that happens after this scene, it kind of makes this bit with Loki a little bit contradictory. And it's lucky that Odin lives, because Luffy takes his time to open Odin's eye and starts gloating. If Luffy just went in for the kill, Odin'd be dead.
Yeah.
That's
also, Odin waking up, we said it's convenient that he kind of just teleports. It's also convenient that he just wakes up and
he wakes up when his sons need him, because they're breaking the Rainbow Bridge to the Bifrost.
He gave him that much harumph. I don't know.
I guess so, because he doesn't go back to sleep afterwards, right? He's just awake now.
Well, he got fully charged. He just needed a rest in his whatever it was called. Odin sleep.
His bed. Yeah.
The impact of Loki's line that I did this for you, for all of us, hits way harder after the whole Loki story so far in the MCU.
Up to a certain point, I agree. Yeah.
What point may that be?
I wonder what.
Spider says up to Ragnarok.
No, I'd say up to Endgame. Well, at least Infinity War. Sorry.
War?
Yeah, because he wants to have. I mean, he wants to prove himself to his father, but he also wants to prove himself worthy. He wants to. He's doing it for a perceived good, because he also. One of the interesting things about Loki's fallacy that I really enjoy is he's also brought up in the same twisted way that Thor was, which he's raised on these glorious stories of war to, slaying the frost giants and stuff like that to make a name for themselves. That's how the idea was behind them learning the legends of Odin. So they both want to live up to their father's name. So they both want to do the same thing. But Thor at the beginning of the film obviously wants to just brute force it and go in like a warrior. Loki still has the same intention, but he wants to do it in a subtle manner that doesn't cost the lives of any Asgardians. In theory. Which is... Yeah. Well, I mean, the life being costed would be Thor's. And it's a nice parallel between the two brothers to have that, because they're both ultimately going about achieving the same thing, but Loki is going about it in as bloodless a manner as possible, because he's doing it for everyone. So there is a twisted way to look at it, in the sense that, because every villain's the hero of their own story, Loki could legitimately see him doing the right thing, himself doing the right thing here.
Okay, yeah.
Interesting bits.
No, I like that.
Yeah, one of my interesting bits. Again, it's one of those things that really elevates Loki above at least the rest of the Phase 1 villains. There's a lot of layers at work for this character.
Yes. How's everyone's notes looking so far currently?
Few things left.
Yeah, I've got a few things left.
All right, we'll go on to Crimson.
All right. So Loki falls to his death in air quotes, and it just gets me questioning how the gravity and atmosphere work at here. Because if it's supposed to be like a planet where it's got like a spherical atmosphere, gravity, and whatnot, Loki probably would have been like pulled to underneath the ground that we kind of see. It's kind of like two mountains. You got the exposed one, and then you got the upside down one. He probably would have just been pulled to the upside down mountain part, and not just dropped out into space.
Yeah, unless the wormhole or whatever the Bifrost is has its own hole to it.
That's what I'm thinking because it seemed like he accelerated speed upon getting closer to it.
Hmm. I feel like we would have seen like the water from the waterfall getting pulled then, if it's that strong.
I'm not sure how that water replenishes itself, to be honest.
I don't think Loki's angle upon falling is direct to the distance of the waterfall.
Maybe I'm just stuck on thinking of this as kind of like a planet.
Well, you see that it's
Maybe.
it's flat.
Oh, it's like a floating island.
Kind of,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's got a cloud base that causes a floor for its sea.
No, it's very weird.
It's magic.
It's
I
a very
guess.
interesting interpretation of Asgard. I'll tell you that much.
Hey, Loki died. Teardrops.
Rip.
Till the credits.
Well, Loki vanished.
Yeah, I'll say this: the end credits for this movie don't line up well with Avengers.
With Avengers.
Yeah. Well, because the end credits in this film are Dr. Selvig meeting Nick Fury and standing over the Tesseract, and Loki is already controlling him when he wouldn't be doing that.
Okay. All right. That's how you took it. After your 20 times of watching this.
Yeah.
Okay. I see it as coincidental they said the same line. There is no controlling whatsoever.
Hold on. Are you kidding me?
Wait.
Really?
For me?
For which one of us?
Yeah, for who?
No, for Sprinks.
Yeah.
No, that's not how that's supposed to be interpreted.
All right. I'm not going to probe further because then it's going to sound like bullying.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not how that scene's supposed to be interpreted. The interpretation there is that Loki's controlling him. Otherwise, in either case, even if it's not controlling him, it still doesn't line up well with Avengers. My original point still stands.
Trying to think why that wouldn't line up with Avengers.
Loki has
trying to tap the power of the Tesseract.
Yeah, Loki has no influence on Dr. Sheldrick. He has no idea this is where the Tesseract is until he's sent here by Thanos.
Yes. 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 Because Thanos is connected and he's working for Thanos. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, like I said, that's why this is not consistent with Avengers. It's cool setup, but this is inconsistent with what's shown in the Avengers movie.
With the connection that Loki's controlling Selvig.
No, with the Tesseract stuff as well. But yes, that is my main point of contention. Yes. The
Oh, okay. I just see that scene very differently then. Well, Crimson Sound is injured. I'm a little gasp. I don't know if we got that picked up.
I just don't want to sound like a bully, so I'm refraining from saying anything.
You think I'm stupid?
I didn't say that.
Think I'm naive? I didn't pick something up?
Oh, it has nothing to do with picking things up. I think it's spelled out plainly. That's where I'm at.
Then I don't see how Loki has controlled him.
That would be at the core of my problem.
Okay, so that's where I fall into he's not controlled.
Yeah. All right. To kind of lay it out, Sprinks, I guess, on this aspect, your interpretation of it happens to be to the film's greatest benefit. Whereas the reading that I think is pretty spelled out and what intended with the scene is to the film's detriment because it's inconsistent with what comes after. That could be more on Avengers because technically Avengers is after this, so Avengers is inconsistent with this. But it's that's where the dichotomy, I guess, in our difference comes from with that scene.
But I see your point of it. That Loki, in this instance, sees the Tesseract and is then learned of the Tesseract, which doesn't work with Avengers because he's not aware and is working for Thanos at that point. So that changes Loki from here to there with that perspective. If he's controlling Selvig to tap into the Tesseract's power, which can be played into that the Tesseract has to be open for the doorway, so Loki's physical form can be traveled from Asgard or wherever the heck he is to get to Midgard. That's what I'm picking up from your perspective of this end credit to Avengers.
That's definitely a part of it. Like, I don't think this scene functions very well on any level for setting up the Tesseract in its place in Avengers.
Interesting. How I see it is Fury has the Tesseract because of Howard Stark finding it at the bottom of the ocean from later on, and Selvig is help for that of a connection. Loki is already working for Thanos at this point, that it's set further along because we see Loki is being in this scene has survived, so he's found somewhere to set his grounding. So he's working for Thanos to find the Tesseract, and it's coincidental in a sense that he says the same thing Selvig says because they both feel the same about coming face to face with the Tesseract. Introduction.
Is it? Wouldn't you then take an issue with it being coincidence then that they say the same thing? Because
I don't think so. No.
Why?
Many people being brought into a situation where something's amazing, not every single person in unison, but they can all audibly say the same similar phrase.
You just said it yourself that it was similar. This was the same.
Yeah, they didn't say it in unison, which then would have played more into what I think would have been a cloning thing, or not cloning, mind control thing if it said it in tone to Loki speaking.
Because Loki says it, he turns to look at Selvig, and then Selvig echoes the same line. Why would he even turn to look at him?
Because he sees who's going to use, which is why he uses Selvig to control when he gets in Avengers.
At this point, he was following him.
Possibly.
I'm done with this topic. I have nothing really else to add.
So Crimson, you're on Ryder's side, like you saw it how Ryder saw it.
I'm going to be blunt. I don't see there being sides. So
there's no sides. Oh,
there.
I was being honest when I said I didn't want to come across as bullying, but you keep probing me.
Well, I want to know your point on the end credit here.
I stated it.
Okay, it's controlled. Cool.
I like Thor's back and forth with Loki over their duels over in the Bifrost is a bit gimmicky, but it's passable because I think the characters playing off each other is really what elevates the scene. And it's kind of interesting because every third act so far, with the exception being like Iron Man 1, has been levels of like great destruction going on. So this kind of comes to us as a much more subdued final fight in comparison to the Hulk, Iron Man 2, and what will be Caps as well in the future.
As of this one's placement, I think this is the most like emotionally driven climate.
Yes, this is the family's.
There is the whole he was like a father to me for years, but they don't really play that kind of angle with him with Tony all that much at the climax part. Incredible Hulk, obviously nothing really that emotional tied there.
Finally, a real
And-
fight. Such emotion, such weight.
Yes. And then Iron Man 2, yeah, nothing really there with Whiplash. So I guess I could see this being viewed as a little different.
Yeah, it's more subdued for Final Fight. I'm not saying it's bad. It still keeps the small scale stuff, which I think I quite like for Phase 1 of the MCU. There's no grand scale battles until Avengers. I mean, I could include Cap fighting the Nazis, but that's a world war. So, but I mean like grand scale in terms of the modern times MCU.
Let's see here. I like the little end thing of Thor with Odin, like thanking him for kind of like the journey he put him on, of how much he's learned and appreciated Odin's decision and everything, because it's made him a much better Asgardian now.
Yeah.
And more fit to be king.
Yeah. To add on even more to that, the way those convictions come out in his fight with Loki as well. It's like, he's like, you can't kill an entire race. Like, you would have killed them all with your bare hands. So it's very indicative of the different person that Thor is.
Yeah, very much so. And he's pretty defensive during the bridge fight. I mean, he could have beat the heck out of Loki, but he just left his hammer on him to pacify him.
Yeah,
That was pretty good.
Yeah, until he comes to the conclusion that he can't stop it without destroying the bridge.
Yeah.
Which is pretty
Which
cool.
then I guess Loki was in shock for hesitance to stop Thor.
Yeah, because I don't think he expected Thor to make the hard choice of willing to destroy the Bifrost, cutting himself off from Midgard from people he now cares about. So you gotta self-sacrifice from Thor. He's giving up something here for a time in order to save the Frost Giants.
The whole race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People he hated.
So that's pretty worthy.
Yeah. He's definitely made his choice.
Let's go to Crimson for another point, because I'm getting like bare bones on mine.
Yeah, I guess piggybacking off the Thor sacrifice thing, I just appreciate that it's not just he has an emotional ending with Loki. He does get a bittersweet ending with Jane, because he's sacrificing it, but he's also taking it on the chin. Like when he talks to Odin about it and stuff, he's not like bitter about it. Like, God, I'm never gonna see her again. He's just like, I guess, at peace. He's not emotionally charged like he once was.
Yeah, I just completely agree with
tacking
that.
on.
I do like the shot of the sunset when we see the silhouettes of Jane, Dr. Selvig, and Darcy all standing there, and then obviously Jane's the last one standing as the rest move away. Kind of indicating where she is going to be going as a character a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good little setup. Let's go to Ryder.
I think I'm actually out. I think I got everything out that I needed.
Well. I guess Crimson then.
Sure. Loki, I guess, using his abilities on the bridge, the clones and stuff. We get to see a bigger scale of his abilities, because up to this point we saw him like do one clone at Jotunheim. He could project himself on Earth. Past that was pretty much his limits, but we can see that it can go way larger.
Yeah, we see that there's a point in the fight where he stops holding back, I think.
I wish the fight had more of that to begin with and go with, rather than a back and forth with the hammer and the staff.
Yeah,
because it doesn't seem to fit Loki's fighting style at all.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if Loki whipped out his daggers, it would be a very different fight, because the best in faith interpretation, he's just not used to using Gungnir, so it feels a little out of depth for him.
Well, Loki's fighting style is always blind. Always attack the blind side of an enemy.
Yeah. He does lull Thor into a bit of that when he gets a backstab on him, which I think does work very well.
True, but that gets to a point. The whole fighting inside the Bifrost Gateway with jumping around and attacking each other with a staff, that doesn't fit Loki at all. I think.
Yeah, it definitely comes across as a bit of a slugfest.
Not to say Loki's not capable of doing that. I think training all these years on Asgard or whatever, sparring with Thor and whatnot, he has the capabilities to do so. I just don't think
Yeah.
really mess with Thor.
Yeah, that would be something, huh?
Yeah. Crimson, how many more points do you have? Do you think?
Nah, that would have been it.
Oh, as well. That's all my points too. I guess with that, that is all the points we have on our coverage of Thor. Let us now go into summaries and ratings. Let's start with the writer.
All right. Well, uh, Thor. I think it ages fairly well. Comparatively, I guess, to the rest of a lot of the later stuff in the MCU. This was the kind of this is the one I had the most mixed feelings about, I guess, when we just first discussed going back to Phase 1, because I kind of knew where I felt on the Iron Man ones already, having seen them a bunch. And while I've seen this one a bunch, this one's the one I had the most mixed feelings on. And I don't enjoy this one as much as I do Iron Man 1 and First Avenger still. I think I enjoy this about as much as on par with Iron Man 2. And I think all of those are above Hulk, obviously, as far as Phase 1 subjectivity is concerned. So my subjective for this one is pretty easy. I'm going to match my last week's Iron Man 2 rating of a subjective 7. I love Norse mythology. I do kind of wish they played more around within that mythology. They had a little bit more set up for Loki in that mythology. Odin's eye being, I'm still under the impression that it was lost during the war. I would prefer, I guess, some more playing around with the mythology. I think nothing really annoyed me in this, so solid 7 all around. I think all the characters are fun. I love a lot of the actors, and I love a lot of the way that just the visual interpretation of Norse mythology has kind of, Thor is kind of definitively now, like, not that to say Norse mythology didn't have a definitive version of Thor, but the MCU versions of the characters are so popular now that they kind of influence the interpretations of the mythology. And I do think this movie is kind of a solid reason as to why, I suppose. Objectively, the plot is simple in that it's putting Thor on a strong character arc, and that he's the main character. He's going from a brash, bullheaded, bloodthirsty warrior to someone who knows how to lead, someone who knows how to care about people, to prioritize others. What's important is not as Odin says at the beginning, is a king never seeks out war, but he must always be prepared for it. And in that vein, the king must always be prepared to make the hard choice that will save the most lives. And I do think Thor achieves that as far as character arc is concerned. I do think the film conveys it very well with the way that I play that off with other characters in the film. I think the only characters, because without going on and on about how good the characters are, I think Freya probably is on the weaker side, but within the context of the film, she works. I would say the same thing about the Warriors 3 and Sif. They're very much relegated to side characters, but I don't know if they do enough to completely justify their screen time in the film. I would feel like I would need them. I feel like they should be more proactive. Give them a longer mystery to solve on Asgard, or give them more time to flesh out the characters so they're just a little bit more than the strict archetypes they are, as like, the strong female warrior, the the fancy rapier fighter, or the big brute in the axe guy, and then you got your quick guy with who's kind of was jokingly called Jackie Chan. I don't even know their names, and I struggle with their names, which is a shame because I do think I like their aesthetic quite a bit. They're not necessarily bad. To clarify, I just think that the film would be serviced more with their stuff being flushed out a bit more. Loki's intelligence, or sometimes lack thereof, is what drives the plot forward. So what the damage that I think is there, because there is some, I think there's some nitpicks I have with that intertwined with the plot. Lofi is a dumbass. I got the whole Frost Giants bit is terrible. They're very, very generic villains. I don't get a strong sense of world building from them. I don't get a sense that this culture exists off screen. They're just here for as villains, and they obviously play second fiddle to Loki. The humans, Darcy, I quite like her as comedic relief. Jane, I think, is consistent with herself. She's very driven. We don't really talk about Jane much over this podcast, but I think a lot of Jane's actions make sense. She kind of, once all her life's work is given up, it makes sense that she's willing to drive Thor out to the makeshift shield base, and give them some trouble and help Thor out because she has nothing left to lose. So again, she's got some strong convictions here and there. I don't think she does anything inconsistent necessarily. She's very much a go-getter as far as the science is concerned. I raved about Stellan Skarsgård, and I love his Dr. Erik Selvig in this film. I gotta specify that. And I do think he adds a nice grounding mechanism on the flip side, like where Odin's the fatherly figure in Asgard, he adds the fatherly figure here in Midgard for Jane and Darcy. He kind of helps mentor them, but he also steps in to help Thor and gives him some solid life advice once Thor thinks his dad is gone and he's searching for meaning, which is just a sign of a good person and a good character. And you get a lot of fluff, well, not fluff, but you get a lot of good fleshed out stuff with him in that opening part, or in that bar scene. As far as the world building is concerned, within this movie, I think is mostly okay outside of Jotunheim. I definitely think there's going to be problems that are retroactively might damage the world building in this film going forward in the MCU, but that is not this film's fault. That will be the fault of the films that come after this. And again, I talked about the plot. It's very much related to how well developed Loki's plan is, how much his manipulations work, and I do think, for the most part, they make sense. I do think there are some things that are contrived. Him not being smart enough to detect that the Warriors 3 and Sif are onto him and necessarily do something a bit more to stop that and prevent them from going to Earth, other than just telling Heimdall not to do so. It's a bit much. I feel like he would do some more on that front. I would assume he makes the appearance on Earth to talk Thor out of coming back by telling him he's permanently banished in order to maintain peace. So I assume that's part of the plan. But again, that's under the pretext that he can keep the Warriors 3 and Sif away from Thor, so he doesn't learn the truth. And I think S.H.I.E.L.D. is mostly functional as an organization. I do think they do have some nitpicks here and there as to how they function. But overall, this is a pretty solid film. I've been bounced between a 7 and an 8. I think I'm going to tepidly land on a 7 to match my subjective. It's a solid film through and through, I think.
Alrighty. I'll go next, same Crimson for last. I'll start with my objective. I think the acting in this movie is overall pretty well. There are some very standout good acting scenes that stand out more so than the overacting of an actor. I think Tom Hiddleston has some very good acting scenes, but overall, pretty good. Sir Anthony Hopkins has some really good scenes, but not all of his scenes are the same par, if that makes sense. I think the costume design is very well done. I don't know if these are necessarily the best costumes about all of them, but just like the grandiose of Asgardian outfits that have been made for this are really good, and then civilian clothing, whatever. But the Asgardian look is very nice. The concept of what Asgard looks like, what Jotunheim looks like, these depictions of Norse mythology put to the screen, I think, are really interesting and cool. How they're put. Let's see. The lighting's overall fine. There's a couple things that are like dark, like Jotunheim's very dark, but I don't think they have a sun, which brings up the question like where's the lighting coming from situation. Um, the CGI, just move on from lighting. Lighting was fine. CGI was overall pretty good. I see the MCU CGI getting a little better and better with each movie. Um, there wasn't a ton of it in this movie, but the destroyer looked very good. Asgard looked pretty well, and whatever that beast thing on Jotunheim looked pretty well, decent. Um, the dialogue is fine. I think it's fitting. It's a little weak here and there because it fits to the plot of the story of Thor's arc of the movie.
Yeah.
And there are scenes that could have been fleshed out more.
Can I add just a tiny
But
note onto that real quick?
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of the things I forgot to say is how I would describe a lot of the dialogue in this movie. It's very mechanical in how it goes about it. Some of the dialogue doesn't feel natural, but it does keep this story moving forward.
Yes, I think in individual parts to the scenes they're in are very well fit. I then put that into what I think is not so much the editing, but onto the pacing of the movie makes it feel clunky. Scene to scenes don't feel necessarily smooth; they feel slotted, which really makes this movie feel like a three-act movie. Of you have the Asgard Jotunheim stuff, you have the Midgard, and then you have Loki's evil get to the end. And I think it's because of how slotted the scenes feel throughout the movie. There's no good transitions. I think no smooth transitions of scenes to scenes. A transition I did like is Loki arriving in the interrogation room and Coulson slows the door or shuts the door. That's cool, but that's not a scene transition. If you know what I mean. And I don't think that's smooth. And it kind of starts off with that with the music, as I said, overlooking Asgard. It doesn't seem synced, so it just kind of starts off a little unsynced bits. So maybe that goes into editing, and I think that goes into the pacing and the tone. But it's not egregious. What is, I think, fits more in the line of the egregious is the overuse of Dutch angles. It's gonna hit both my objective and subjective. The objectivity hit for it is the overuse of it. It's a shot that's not sprinkled throughout, and I don't think needs to be sprinkled out if you're a big fan of it. It could have been 50% or more, but the sake for it that it seems every scene has one, and almost of like a quota had to be met for a Dutch angle to be in a shot, really makes the feel and tone of this movie feel like unlike anything else. No other movie comes to mind that has this much of like an artistic change in the camera lens of what we're being shown, in the sense of just the lens. And it really stands out that way, but I have it as for a negative impact because it's just I don't see the reason of need to have everything at a Dutch angle. Why is everything what makes one thing higher than lower on the left versus right? Why frame a scene in a way that has characters set of who's on left, who's on right for the Dutch angle versus mirrored, or the importance of the symbolism in that to come across as the choice for the camera to be made that way. And I get the interpretation for it is that it's to mimic that of comic panels, which is clever in the use of it, but I think in execution it does not pull off the effect it's trying for, because I think this movie is too modern, set, timed, and not old. Because a lot of those comic panels it's referring to are older, golden aged Marvel comics. Um, so I see where it's coming from, and I get that not an excuse, but a point, because I think it's more than just an excuse, but it didn't work out. I don't think it's just overused. I usually always forget something, but right now I have the movie at a 6.5. I was teetering, maybe making it a 7, but I think 6.5 is fine. I can see the argument if I gave more and more to making this a 7, but I'm content with giving it that. Subjectively, boy, the Dutch angle stuff is an eyesore. It's annoying. I can't get past not seeing it every time I see this movie now. I think this movie is clunky. I like Norse mythology, but this interpretation of it isn't my favorite. I think the action is fine, but it's shot weird at times. It does feel like the middle part is a bit of a slog, a little boring with the whole Midgard thing, because Thor's he hasn't given up being Thor, but he does feel like he shifted characters real fast before trying lift Mjolnir. It seems after the hospital bit, he's not really Thor-ish anymore. If that kind of makes sense, it feels like a bit of a jump in character change upon him being shirtless for the eye candy scene to have the breakfast and farewell until lifting the hammer and the hammer doesn't work, and then he's kind of more of the humanity mortality hit of not worthiness to change. So I don't know, his whole voyage of the hero is a little wishy-washy, I guess. But it's still a passable movie. It's a Marvel movie. Introduction to these characters, I think, is decently fun, and the grandiose of everything is pretty big comparatively to the other movies so far in the MCU. I have it at a 6. So with that, I guess we then go to Crimson for last.
Okay, let's see. I will start with my objective first. I've been thinking about certain elements and how much I want to weigh them. I think one of my biggest objective hits in this, and we talked about it, but I didn't really realize how big of an issue it was until we were kind of done talking about it, and that was the Odin going into a coma. That facilitates so much of the story without anything Loki pushing that towards his plan. Odin just goes into a coma, and then Loki capitalizes it and makes a whole new plan to capitalize on it. I think that's more than weak sauce. That's, I would even say, is bad. That something so significant is just something that happens. It's just a thing. And you could argue, well, he's under a lot of stress. He's arguing. He just banished his son. He's arguing with his other semi-son. So makes sense. He would kind of break down. He was already kind of down. But I think it's too much to play for how significant it is. I feel like there has to be motive behind it by Loki predominantly. Like I said earlier, kind of like if you poisoned him or something. But I think it has too much behind it to be implemented the way it did, where it's kind of just a happenstance. I think Laffy is a moron, as the writer was talking about. He said that there was a traitor in the house of Odin, even though he didn't know that information yet. So that's just not well put. He calls for war, even though he would 100% guarantee to lose this war because he doesn't have the casket to do whatever the casket does. But he lost when he had it. He's certainly going to lose not having it. The depiction of that civilization is abhorrent. It just looks like a wasteland, and with the added like 1,000 years to rebuild, looks like nothing. So I think they did a poor job building up that civilization. Thor, I think they did a good job turning his character around. I do agree with Sprinks that he did turn a bit too quick before grabbing the hammer. Some change is fine, but I do think pretty much right after the hospital, he's kind of more human than he would have been. But I'm sure getting tased and also sedated by humans would kind of be a knock on the ego.
And hit by a car twice.
I suppose, but it's still a little quick. See, I don't want to retread too much stuff. I do think the visuals are pretty good for the time, and even compared to some of the current Marvel, I think it's even better than some of the current Marvel stuff. And as an introduction to one of our Avengers and one of the main villains, slash long running characters being Loki. I think they did a good job establishing the gray and enough framework for him to grow in a complex manner. So, with all that being said, I'm at objective 7. Could be talked down, but I think that's fair. Subjectively, I enjoy this film. It kind of is a little slow part in the middle, but I do like the whole like siege of the shield fort, I guess, or encampment. Pretty fun. The fight at the end with Loki is pretty cool. Heimdall is pretty cool throughout the MCU, but in this film he's pretty awesome. He's like, well, then I don't have to take orders from you anymore, and attacks Loki, even if it was futile. All around, fun movie. I have it at a 7 as well.
Wow, all our numbers are pretty darn close.
Seems to be.
A rare instance that we've rated a MCU movie higher than you, Springs.
Well, I knew going into going through the MCU that Thor would not be very high. The Dutch angle is really detrimental.
I mean, it'll be interesting for me to rewatch it to see if it bugs me this time. I have no idea if it will. All right.
It's kind of surprising that you didn't really notice it, to be honest.
I mean,
it is kind of
I don't really
awesome.
I don't really look at camera angles, to be honest, when watching movies. Funny enough, unless they're like super standoutish, like when you have the black bars suddenly appear during an action sequence. It's kind
of like a helicopter fight scene.
Yeah, where it's consistent. Or in Iron Man, it was there too.
That's also true.
Like, see, that stuff I notice. Sometimes most of the time I would notice those, but even then, those are like super blatant stuff. And when it comes to black bars being introduced into like specific scenes, the only time I've seen those like artistically introduced, really, really well to the point where it adds to the scene in like a super highly specific way, is during watching an anime. So that's probably the most I will notice of like camera angles and stuff like that. It's like I can make comparisons of movies I've seen before where like with static shots and still shots and stuff like that, but Dutch angles and the way camera angles are angled, unless it's like super brutally horrible, I don't notice. I think the Dutch angles were consistent enough that it just blended with the rest of the film. Like they never stood out to me because they were consistently used, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Interesting. I guess it's kind of like the opposite effect, that when a scene didn't have a Dutch angle, it stood out.
And like I said, maybe that's.
I think he's saying for himself.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
Fair enough. With that, gentlemen, shall I read us out?
I think so.
Alrighty. Thank you, audience, for listening, whether it be Spotify, Amazon, Castbox, Good Pods, iHeartRadio, Podcast, and Samsung. If you be at our visual side of things, be it YouTube or Rumble, thank you for watching our PNG Trooper slideshow there. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe everywhere. Tell us how much you hate our opinions or how much you love them. And as always, I've been a Geeky Writer.
Comes in around.
And I'm Springs.
And we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Toodaloo.